Lilly Singh, also known as Superwoman, was arguably one of the most popular creators on YouTube in the 2010s. She amassed a deeply dedicated fan base that would not only support her videos, but would also buy her books, stream her documentary, and attend her live shows all over the world. Thanks to her fan base, Lilly was nominated for Streamy Awards, Teen Choice Awards, People's Choice Awards, and MTV Fandom Awards, and often she swept the board. Lilly had an undeniable talent for connecting with people through her speech and her actions, and she was so good at it that even traditional media recognized her success. In her prime, Lilly appeared on The Hollywood Reporter's Top 30 Influencer list, People's Ones to Watch list, and Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. She even ranked third on Forbes' list of the highest paid YouTube stars in 2016. They estimated that Lilly had made a whopping $7.5 million that year. But Lilly wasn't greedy. She was determined to share the benefits of her hard work. Lilly moved through life and up the rungs of the career ladder with the intention of doing good in the world. Lilly was proud to be a thriving member of the digital world, which she considered to be the future of entertainment. But she did also show a growing interest in taking up work in traditional media, possibly to her detriment. At the beginning of 2018, Lilly became known to the broadcasting network that would go on to change her life drastically for what she hoped would be the better, which was, of course, NBC. Together, Lilly and NBC created the talk show A Little Late for Lilly Singh, which, as you may have read in a few headlines, was an incredible step forward for not just Lilly, but also for women and people of colour and members of the LGBTQ+ community. But surprisingly, Lilly's talk show wasn't celebrated, at least not at large, by the communities that it tried so desperately to serve. So, before it could even reach its third season, it was pulled from air. This project that was expected to elevate Lilly's voice extinguished it. And the question I'm left with is why? What lit the fire inside of Lilly Singh that allowed her to climb against all odds to the height of success? And why did that fire burn so fervently that it ended up destroying everything that she'd built for herself? What happened to Lilly Singh? Oh, it's so much more fun standing because I can take these dramatic poses. But before we get into anything, I'm just going to go over my regular quick disclaimer that, listen, I do try to be as accurate and comprehensive as I possibly can be in these videos. I take that quite seriously, but I am just a girl with access to Google. Listen, my brain is like this big, I think, and I'm not Lilly Singh either. Like, I was not there, I didn't do this. So all I'm saying is please don't take my word for gospel. I mean, I don't have a degree in Lilly Singh-ology, do you know what I mean? I just hope that you maybe find some joy in this video. There's something positive that you can take away from this. Also, I have merch. Do with that information what you will. And finally, the golden question is, my accent is, drumroll, it's a Kiwi accent. I'm from New Zealand, so I'm sorry if you think I talk funny. Maybe I do. Nothing I can do about it. I don't know. I was born this way. It's not Maybelline, I can tell you that. Now, we're going back to 1972, baby. I don't know why I'm so excited. I've never been there. But in that year, a man named Sukhwinder Singh made his way from Punjab, India to Toronto, Canada to start a new life for himself. Sukhwinder had such little money to his name that even buying his first refrigerator was a cause of celebration for him, which I understand because those beasts are expensive, but he even got like a photo shoot with it. He was very pleased. And then over the course of a decade, Sukhwinder drove taxis, he laboured in factories, he acted as security, he worked as a furniture salesman, and slowly but surely he established a relatively stable financial ground. So he was ready for a wife as far as his family was concerned anyway, so they arranged for him to marry a 22-year-old named Malwinder Kaur. She had, similarly to Sukhwinder, been raised in a strict Sikh family in Punjab, India, and although she had dreams of being a flight attendant, she was not encouraged to pursue them. Instead, she was shipped off to Canada to become a young bride. Upon arriving in Toronto, Malwinder was amazed to see how big and bright it was, and she was absolutely smitten with the amount of flavours of ice cream that they had to try. She specifically mentioned was like, I had ice cream every day and it was always different. And as a married woman now living in Canada, Malwinder experienced some new freedoms that she really relished. I mean, she was allowed to wear tank tops and put makeup on. She could even cut her hair on her own accord. Malwinder and Sukhwinder were grateful for their life in Canada, but they were mindful that their good standing there relied on their ability to work hard and pinch pennies. So that's what they did. Within some years, Sukhwinder's proclivity in business, coupled with Malwinder's relentless work ethic, allowed the pair to buy a home on Hupfield Trail in Malvern. Malvern was a melting pot. It was part of the diverse area of Scarborough, so they felt pretty homely there. Homely? Doesn't that mean like ugly? Either way, in that house there, they lived with Malwinder's father, their eldest daughter Tina, and their youngest daughter, Lilly. And now we meet Lilly Singh. Lilly was born on the 26th of September in 1988, and her arrival was unfortunately considered nothing to write home about. When the news did reach Sukhwinder's parents in Punjab weeks later, they were disappointed. They had hoped that the couple would produce a boy rather than another girl. As Lilly would later explain, in their culture, boys and men held the most value. It was that simple. They made the decisions, they were the providers, and they carried on the family name. In an opinion piece entitled The Sacrifice of Punjabi Sikh Women, the writer shared that one father explained to me that having a daughter is like watering the neighbour's garden, because the daughter leaves the family to live with her in-laws when she gets married. They shared, I have watched how girls, daughters, sisters, mothers, and grandmothers are forced to put their needs second to the needs of a culture, tradition, and society that values men and boys. And although Lilly was born and raised in Canada by progressive, more liberal parents, some of those embedded cultural beliefs were still burdens that Lilly carried. Lilly quickly learned that there were strict rules in place about how girls were supposed to act and what they were supposed to wear and what they were allowed to do. But that didn't gel well with Lilly. She was a naturally creative and individualistic child. The rules that were being placed on her didn't intrinsically align with her at all. So, I mean, her only chance of survival was to become very good at pushing boundaries, and that's exactly what she did. From a very young age, Lilly learned that if she cried enough, her parents would let her sleep in their bed instead of in her crib, and so that was her method. But as she grew, that strong-willed nature developed with her. Her mindset came to be that nothing would stop her from being who she was going to be or doing what she was going to do. She was just going to fight until she could do it. As her family recall fondly, Lilly was a brat. She was a handful. But they loved her, and all things considered, Lily's parents were supportive of her inclinations, even if they were unconventional. They might have tried to point her in a certain direction here and there, like, please can you just wear the dress to the party? But that aside, they sat back and watched with a mixture of concern and amusement as Lilly picked out baggy clothes to wear and she turned up her nose at Barbie dolls. Actually, Lily's mum would joke that they'd always wanted a son, which, I mean, she seems to think is funny. But along that vein, Lilly actually developed a particular interest in boxing and wrestling. I guess she couldn't catch episodes of Monday Night Raw because they were aired like after her bedtime, so she'd actually tape them and she'd wake up at 5 a.m. the next morning to watch them. She was that dedicated. And in doing that, Lilly grew to love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like love. Soon, Lily's room featured a life-size cutout of The Rock, and also countless posters. At school, Lilly answered to Lilly "The Rock" Singh. She even dressed up as him for a school fashion show at one point. And of course, when it came time to make her first email, Lilly selected the__rock85@hotmail.com. Lilly loved The Rock, and part of that was she was just so inspired by the way that he expanded his career from football to wrestling and then to Hollywood. It seemed like nothing could stop The Rock from doing what he wanted to do. He lived to defy expectations, just like Lilly did. And also, similarly to The Rock, Lilly had a penchant for putting on a show. From a young age, she would record monologues and act out skits on her family's camcorder. If her family was having a party, she might be too shy to speak much, but you would catch her in the middle of the dance circle. She'd be busting a move. And if Tina, her sister, had friends over, then Lilly would perform hip-hop routines for the older girls. She'd entertain them. And on top of that, inspired by her mum, who Lilly thought was hilarious, and also this Indian-Canadian comedian Russell Peters. She used to watch him with her family. Either way, Lilly learned to cobble together her own jokes, which she was very proud of. She liked to entertain people, but it was outside of her family home that Lilly really, truly found herself. Frequently, she would follow the path from her house to the sidewalk. She would wave goodbye to her beloved grandfather, who was often sitting in his chair on their patch of grass outside, waving to everyone that passed, and Lilly would head out to meet with her friends. Now, Scarborough wasn't an oasis by any means. It was an underserved community. There must have been something going on, because Lilly even described that her school had like strict security measures in place. They had metal detectors and all sorts. But what Scarborough did have was a tight-knit, multicultural community. Lilly adored her peers in Scarborough. Through them, she developed her vernacular, her comedic timing, her expansive taste in food, and her appreciation for hip-hop music. And specifically, Lilly connected with a song that was released by Little Mo in 2001, entitled Superwoman. 13-year-old Lilly adopted the moniker as her MSN Messenger screen name and her real-life nickname. Going by Superwoman made Lilly feel empowered, like she had the strength inside of her to overcome any challenge. So she leaned into this identity. She bought herself this Superwoman ring that she'd never be seen without. That ring served as a reminder that, like her nickname sake, she was destined to be something great. Deep down, she just knew she was. And great to Lilly didn't mean being a doctor or an engineer or a scientist. That's what her schoolmates wanted to be. Nah, she wanted to be a rapper. Looking back, she was like, wow, I definitely made my parents proud. But I mean, with that said, Lilly did. She did make her parents proud in the sense that she excelled academically. Lilly was a star student in elementary school, and that continued into high school. She was, of course, a smart girl. She was a driven girl, but her main motivation to succeed actually came from her desire to please her parents. She'd later recalled that affection wasn't freely handed out in the Singh household. She had to earn it. I mean, Lilly's parents had worked hard. They'd taken some serious risks in the hopes of building a better life for their family in Canada. And as far as they were concerned, for their daughters, that started with them getting a good education. So Mawanda and Sukhwinder expected nothing short of academic greatness from their daughters. And Tina seemed to cope just fine with that, but Lilly couldn't help but feel a pull away from education and towards entertainment. It just felt like it was in her bones. So in high school, Lilly joined a Bhangra dance crew, which I'm probably saying a little bit wrong. Please give me some grace. I've looked up all the pronunciations that I needed to, but my mouth, it's a wonder I can speak English, I'm sorry. Anyway, she joined this dance crew alongside 3 male schoolmates, and the inception of the group was for a school talent show, which, what a travesty. It ended with a catastrophic failure, that routine did. Basically, Lily's dance partners were meant to bend down so that she could stand and pose on their backs at the end of the performance. And they bent down, it was going as planned, except Lilly was really exhausted, so she just kind of slipped off their backs, and as she went down, she grabbed one of her dance mates by the hair and yanked. So she'd recalled that their featured photo in the school newspaper wasn't exactly the most flattering the next day. But that didn't matter. Lilly had enjoyed the whole experience so much that she realised that she was born to perform. It wasn't optional for her. She just loved the creative process so much, and then the rush of being on stage just completed her. But you can't always get what you want, and Lilly knew that. I mean, when she graduated high school, there was no question about whether she was going to go on to pursue higher education or not. She was, of course, going to do that. From her first breath, Lily's life had been mapped out for her. It was going to be linear and stable and prestigious. She wasn't going to have a career in the arts. No, her mum expected that maybe she was going to be a teacher, possibly a psychiatrist. Her dad thought Lilly could make quite a good doctor, and especially a great lawyer, because she was so talented at arguing. But Lilly didn't have quite as much clarity about what she was going to do with her life as her parents did. She had no idea what she wanted to study because she kind of didn't want to study anything, but in the end she chose to follow in the footsteps of her older sister Tina, who had become an occupational therapist. So in 2006, funded by her parents, Lilly began to study psychology at York University in Toronto. As the trend tended to go, Lilly did succeed academically, but she soon found herself getting swept away with extracurricular activities. She joined clubs and teams, but she started the Bhangra Dance Club as well, and she particularly enjoyed being the president of that. Lilly just spent hours working on the choreography and the marketing. She was supposed to be doing her schoolwork, but that could wait. And Lily's dedication was paying off. She actually got her crew hired to dance at a few Indian weddings. But when Lilly excitedly announced this success to her parents, they were appalled. They argued that girls should not dance at people's weddings. It did not look good. That broke Lily's heart. It resulted in a blow-up fight, and true to her character, it did not stop her from doing the dancing. But under the creeping strain of adulthood, Lilly was beginning to question things about her character and herself in general. Throughout her life, there had always been a quiet presumption lurking in the background, and that was that Lily's traits of fun and creativity and attention seeking were meant to be a childish phase. At this point in her life, Lilly knew that she was meant to be outgrowing these things, but she just wasn't. They weren't leaving her. Still, Lilly recognised that there was something else that she craved, and it wasn't to be a psychologist or anything like that. See, by this time, Lily's father had acquired the leases for 11 gas stations, I think, around the greater Toronto area, and Lilly picked up a job as a cashier underneath him. That's not the important part. The important part is that there, she watched firsthand as her father functioned as a boss. She soaked up the way he assigned goals to his workers and the way he brought the team together, and she just, even though she wasn't supposed to, she couldn't shake the feeling that she wanted to be in a position just like his one day. Not specifically the owner of 11 gas stations around the GTA. The underlying current was that Lily wanted to hold power. She wanted to have status. And deep down, Lily wanted those things because there was a chip on her shoulder. From the moment Lily was born, she was expected to amount to nothing of importance. She wasn't that valuable. And that didn't feel fair. So Lily felt the urge to prove to her family that women were as capable and as important as men. But she knew that realistically she wouldn't be able to do that. The only way that she could maybe get them to listen to her was if she became exceedingly wealthy and powerful. But Lily wasn't meant to be a prosperous, creative businesswoman. She was meant to go to school and get a job, follow the status quo. So more than ever, Lily felt her two identities clashing with each other. She knew that to make her family proud, she had to live a life free of defiance and risk. But doing that meant abandoning who she was at her core. She felt stuck and trapped, but I mean, that was her life. She had to do it. So Lily went through the motions at university. But unfortunately, all she really learned was that she did not want to be there. As she attended hours-long lectures and completed schoolwork that she didn't care about, she began to feel more and more suffocated. By her final year of university, Lily's sanity was holding on by a thread. So when she was let down by some friends that she really trusted, Lily spiraled into a state of total dejection. She was depressed. Things like eating, leaving the house, talking to people, and even getting out of bed became these impossibly big mountains for Lily to climb. And for the first time in her life, she felt like she wasn't going to amount to anything. Everything felt pointless. She was going to do nothing. Lily was desperate for a solution. She actually sat her parents down one day and she told them that there was nothing for her in Canada. Her parents were brought to tears when Lily told them that she wanted to go to India to restart her life. But honestly, Lily didn't know what else to do. And it didn't help that there was never an open dialogue around feelings or struggles in her family home. They didn't share stories, they didn't share emotions. And that made Lily feel even more isolated and lost. But one day, thankfully, that changed. That fateful day, Lily was parked outside her house and she was crying in her car. And when Malwinder pulled up next to her, not only did she notice that Lily was upset, but she spoke to Lily. She encouraged her daughter to confide in her about what she was going through and what she was feeling. And in return, she opened up about the adversities that she'd faced in her own life. And although that conversation didn't resolve Lily's depression, it did act as one of the many small milestones that helped her to trudge out of its depths. And then finally, one uneventful morning, Lily woke up at 7 a.m. and she observed something that she hadn't noticed in a long, long time. The sunshine. It was like a switch had flipped in Lily's head. She didn't want to be a sad person anymore. She wasn't going to let herself be a sad person anymore. She decided that she was going to take control back from her mind and change her life for the better. So, using her reactivated strength, Lily began to claw her way towards happiness. Once she graduated with her psychology degree, the sole focus of her life became transforming the pain that she'd felt into tools and lessons that could help her improve into the future. But as life would have it, she also had to work. She had to go to work. She took up this miserable job at a collections agency, and there her workdays consisted of her being sworn at and berated over the phone, and off the phone, the culture within the workplace wasn't much better. So, in the search of an environment that would facilitate her healing rather than hinder it, Lily leaned deeper into her religion. She started to spend her free time volunteering in the dining hall of her local temple. And there, she was surrounded by older people, lots of older people, but also a sense of peace. That helped at the time. But Lily did something else, actually, in October of 2010, that would just flip her life upside down. Because that month, upon some friends' suggestions, Lily navigated to YouTube for the first time. And although she was kind of skeptical upon first hearing about the website, was like, that sounds kind of lame, Lily quickly became smitten with the premise of broadcasting yourself. And as she scrolled, Lily came across a video that was posted by a relative newcomer to the scene at the time. Her name was Jenna Marbles. Lily clicked onto Jenna's video and she was awestruck. Lily quickly recognized that on YouTube there were no roadblocks or rules or regulations. I mean, this was back in 2010, so quite the different time. She saw that Jenna was able to connect with people from every corner of the world with nothing but a personal story, a camera, and her bedroom. I mean, she was in the comfort of her home doing this. And Lily thought, you know, I can do that too. So the next day, 22-year-old Lilly Singh created her Superwoman channel, the iconic Superwoman channel, and she uploaded her very first video, which was a serious spoken word piece designed to encourage young people to volunteer in spiritual places, just as she'd been doing. Nowadays, Lilly might tell you that that video was bad, it was awkward, it's misaligned with her faith, but at the time, making that video was an exciting step into the unknown for Lilly. So she shared her video to Facebook, and then she watched in amazement as the view count grew to 50, and then it climbed over 60, it even got to 70 views. That seemed like a lot at the time. So with her creative gears oiled and her motivation at an all-time high, Lilly uploaded a second video, which was a baking tutorial. From there, Lilly experimented with different styles of sharing her advice and her thoughts to this small YouTube community that she'd found. And she kind of plodded along until one day, she struck gold. Lilly uploaded a comedy video and it was met by a grateful and significant audience. This excited response to her content told Lilly that there was a gap in the market for that style made by someone that looked like her. So suddenly, Lilly had a mission, a real mission in life. She wanted to succeed on YouTube. And to her, that meant using these funny videos that she could make to bring people together, to shine awareness on her culture, and to reach the masses with positive messages, things that maybe she needed to hear when she was in the depths of depression. So Lilly got to work, and in no time she accrued over 1,000 subscribers. That was huge at the time, and Lilly celebrated by posting this compilation of clips set to Justin Bieber's Never Say Never. There was a focus on the lyrics, "This is my destiny." Then, soon after achieving that milestone, Lilly's phone blew up with notifications as her Official Guide to Brown Girls video reached over 10,000 views. Again, huge at the time for her. Lilly enjoyed seeing her channel grow, and so she decided to connect with other local creators like Humble the Poet, who would go on to become a very close friend of hers, and also Ellen Buckle, known as Fluffy Talks online. She thought that maybe they could collaborate, grow a little bit together. But she also learned something very important from Ellen Buckle. She visited his house, and he told her that the very house she was standing in, he had paid for with the ad revenue from his YouTube channel. In that moment, Lilly realized that YouTube was actually a perfectly viable career. She'd found what she wanted to do. So that night she applied for monetization with YouTube and they quickly accepted her. She was off to the races. Except she kind of wasn't. I mean, her earnings got off to a pretty slow start. I think after YouTube took their cut, her first paycheck totaled like $18, nothing crazy. Nowadays you could buy a lollipop with that. Maybe you could have bought a house with that back in the day, I'm not sure. Back in the day, stop, it was 2010. I lie, we're in 2011 now, sorry. Anyway, to supplement her income, Lilly took up some MC jobs at local events. And honestly, it didn't bother her that she wasn't making that much. She was just enjoying working in the entertainment industry in any capacity at all. She'd always been told that she couldn't do it, so it felt pretty good to be able to. But Lilly wasn't satisfied with what she was doing. She couldn't help but dream big. It was like in her DNA. So in May of 2011, Lilly tweeted that she wanted her own talk show. She had barely left the starting block and she's already like, I can do more than this. But Lilly was coming up to a pretty big roadblock. She was kind of heading towards the reality of her life at this point. I mean, she had been out of school for quite some time and her parents were urging her to go back and pursue her Masters of Science. Lilly felt this pressure, it was internal and external, that she had to return to the academic landscape. And at the same time, it repelled her. She didn't want to go back to this place that had drained her life of colour so severely, like a year prior. It sounded like the worst idea ever. So Lilly wrestled with her options and her head spun. She didn't know what to do until her family embarked on a vacation to the Dominican Republic. There, Lilly took the opportunity to sneak out to the beach one night to just be alone with her thoughts. And under the stars, she considered all of the things in her life that she had to be grateful for. She had people around her, a healthy body, she had food to eat. And she concluded that she just had too much going for her to allow herself to continue to feel as sad and as stuck in life as she had been. So Lilly did what made sense for her and she steered herself towards a detour. From that day on, Lilly decided that YouTube was going to be her plan A, B, and C. She was going to do YouTube or do nothing. She was going to make it work because she had to. So when Lilly got home, she really put in the work to establish herself in the comedic space on YouTube with videos about two things that she could very strongly relate to: being a girl and having South Asian parents. Before she knew it, Lilly's videos were achieving a few thousand views per video, and her community had climbed to over 20,000 subscribers, which felt pretty significant. But she noticed that she was kind of falling behind in the sense that other YouTubers were improving their video quality. They were getting, like, real cameras, they weren't just using webcams. So Lilly picked up a job at an electronics store, and she saved until she could afford to buy herself a Canon T3i. She bought it at Best Buy's Boxing Day sale for $699. So I guess $18 couldn't buy you a house back then, but this camera was the most expensive thing that Lilly had ever bought for herself, and her heart just sunk when she made the purchase because she was specifically raised to not waste her money on frivolous things, and this felt like a real shot in the dark. But Lilly really hoped that buying this camera would be worth it. And I mean, in some ways, it already was. Since Lilly had dedicated herself to YouTube, she had been filled with a joy and a purpose that was severely lacking from her life before. But at this point, Lilly's YouTube channel and her, like, relentless dreams of becoming an entertainer, they were kind of like open secrets within her family. Her parents knew she was posting stuff to the internet, but they didn't really get what she was doing. They were like, you're going back to school, right? But that all came to a head in January of 2012. Lilly was working on an essay to get into grad school, as she had to. But as she was doing that, she started to seriously weigh up her options. Eventually, she came to terms with the fact that she didn't care about what she was doing. She didn't care about school. And if she didn't care about it, then there was no point in her continuing to do it. She was going to get nothing out of it. So, on a whim, Lilly marched into her parents' bedroom and announced to them that she didn't want to get her master's. Like, at all. She wasn't going to do it. Instead, she was determined to be a YouTuber. And naturally, Lilly's parents met her with reluctance. I mean, they were quite worried that this obscure platform wasn't going to allow their daughter to be self-sufficient into the future. It didn't look so promising. But they had to admit that they'd seen a familiar fire burning in Lilly's eyes since she'd started her YouTube channel. And so when Lilly asked her parents to give her just please 6 months to prove herself, they gave her a year. And Lilly's father set her a milestone. He said that if her channel had surpassed 100,000 subscribers by January of 2013, the next year, then and only then could she continue to pursue YouTube into the future. And he told Lilly that if she wanted to do YouTube, then she just had to do it the best. And Lilly really took his words to heart because she felt the weight of them. She recognized that she could either relentlessly work on YouTube for the next year and surpass this goal, or she could do something that she didn't want to do with her life for the rest of her life and go back to school. The former was definitely the better option, and so Lilly set herself the rigid schedule of posting twice weekly, Monday and Thursday every week, and she got to work. And not only did she get to work, she got obsessed. When Lilly wasn't making videos, she was poring over her channel's performance. She kept track of her analytics because they weren't so detailed back then, so she'd like take the numbers and put them into spreadsheets, and she'd analyze those and try to improve based off of what she was seeing. And quickly, Lilly learned to edit better. She focused less on perfection, and she loosened up in front of the camera, and that's when she saw her true success. But she still had room for more. See, a few months into her journey, Lilly had this epiphany that she was actually limiting her reach. She was overly focusing on things like her culture and her gender in her videos. Commenters had expressed to her that what she had to say in her skits really transcended those things. Her skits didn't need to center around the fact that she was South Asian or the fact that she was a girl. Not necessarily anyway. So with that feedback on board, and with her core fan base already built, Lilly began to produce content based around broader topics, like types of kids at school. I think this is when I remember seeing Lilly pop up in my recommended feed, but I didn't watch her. I watched Toontown music videos. But it didn't matter that I wasn't watching. She didn't feel that lack too much because her videos skyrocketed in popularity. Just shut up. In no time at all, Lilly found herself being stopped on the street by viewers who were super excited to meet this girl that they watched and related to on YouTube. And little did they know, Lilly was just as excited to meet them. She really treasured her growing community. She appreciated them deeply, especially because her future was contingent on their support. Not that they really knew that at the time. No pressure, guys. You just gotta keep watching. But I mean, regardless, people did keep watching, and Lilly became a beacon of joy for her expanding audience over the course of 2012. So Lilly was determined to keep her spirits up and her content positive, even following the passing of her beloved maternal grandfather on New Year's Eve of that year. Lilly expressed her grief to her viewers, but she also sought out a happy place, and that led her to establish her Unicorn Island. Lilly explained a Unicorn Island is a state of mind. It's a state of living where you decide that you deserve to be happy, and happiness is a priority in your life. It's kind of like a very colourful, childlike synonym for a deeper state of happiness. And in this place of escape, her Unicorn Island, she said it was littered with Skittles and cotton candy, and there was no sexism or ignorance. It was just this blissful place to run to when she needed to. And so, despite the heartbreak that Lilly and her family had entered the new year carrying, Lilly expressed to her viewers that she was beyond grateful. Her life had changed in unimaginable ways in just the past year, and it was thanks to them. In the end, Lilly stepped into 2013 with 180,000 subscribers to her name. She had spread positivity to viewers around the globe. And, importantly, she had proven to herself and her parents that she had chosen the right path. YouTube was her destiny. And so, true to their word, Lilly's parents allowed her to continue to focus on YouTube full time. And even though Lilly had surpassed her original goal with flying colours, she did not show any signs of slowing down. Actually, she pressed down on the gas pedal and she sped into 2013. Lilly stepped out of her comfort zone by spending the beginning of that year in LA. She was there for a few weeks just networking and exploring the city, and then upon returning home, she hit the big time on YouTube. I mean, she was already big, she was already getting like hundreds of thousands of views, but then at the end of March, she uploaded this video, How Girls Get Ready. I know you've seen it. Maybe not, but you know. All I'm saying is that video, it showed the signs like immediately of being a viral smash hit. Its performance was second only to her recent Indian wedding Harlem Shake video. A real sign of the times that, hey. But thanks to Lilly's consistent uploads, which included, of course, some incredibly successful outliers, more and more people were hearing the name Superwoman, including DC Comics, so she did eventually have to strike up a deal with them, but regardless. One of those people that heard Lilly's name was an LA-based agent named Sarah Weichel, I think is how you pronounce her last name. It looks like Weichel to me, but it's not that, I don't think. Either way, Sarah flew Lilly out to LA for a meeting, and during that meeting, Lilly told Sarah, in no uncertain terms, that she was striving for world domination. And Sarah had a wee giggle, but Lilly was like perfectly serious. She was not joking around. She was going to take over the world. And Sarah appreciated that. I mean, maybe it seemed a little bit delusional at the time, but she liked Lilly's ambition. And Lilly respected that Sarah had a deep knowledge of the entertainment industry that could help her move her career forward. She was kind of at a point where she was at a standstill just doing it by herself. So Lilly signed with Sarah, and that was kind of one of her first steps in learning how to build herself a business from the ground up, which was especially hard to do because Lilly was occupying this relatively new, misunderstood space, and she didn't know where she was supposed to be going. Lilly hired a small team, but she came to realize quite quickly that delegating tasks was a serious weakness of hers. She did not like to do it. It was really, really hard for Lilly to relinquish control. She wanted to do everything. But on the plus side, Lilly spoke to her like partner manager, and he basically told her that her channel had a serious earning potential. He was like, yeah, you could make like 30,000 per sponsorship maybe. And Lilly was like, oh, that's what some people make in a year. Dang! And on top of that, she was just getting offers left, right, and centre to do all these things, like attend conventions and promote events and wear branded t-shirts. And she's getting asked to appear on daytime television talk shows. So much was happening. So much was happening. Like, in the blink of an eye, Lily's life became chaotic. Just point blank chaotic. And yet, she managed everything with a smile. Lilly would consistently upload twice a week, every week, as promised, on her main channel. She actually posted on a vlog channel as well, so she had that on her plate. And she was picking up all these opportunities as they came to her, and her hard work really did not go unnoticed, because by August of 2013, Lilly had hustled her way past the 1 million subscriber mark. That is such fast growth. Publicly, after reaching this milestone, Lilly thanked her supporters for making her life one that she actually, truly wanted to live, one that she looked forward to living every day. And privately, she celebrated with a Millie for Lilly party where she popped champagne and ate cupcakes and had a barbecue with her friends. See, achieving such an incredible accomplishment turned out to be a pretty good excuse for Lilly to carve some time out of her calendar to connect with people socially. But typically, her days were quite lonely. Lilly's identity had become entirely wrapped up in her career, and meanwhile, her hometown friends and her family just didn't even really understand what she did. So they didn't relate to her anymore. She couldn't relate to them anymore. But then, I mean, even if she did really want to spend some time with them, maybe explain in depth what she did, she had no time for that. She was so busy. Lilly's mornings, her days, her nights were spent just pouring into her business. She pretty much did nothing else. Which is the reason that Humble the Poet became so close to Lilly. They were like unbreakable. They had this bond of like best friends. Their dynamic worked so well because they worked together on projects. They released songs together and music videos and stuff like that. It was important to Lilly that she didn't surround herself with people that weren't as driven and as focused as she was. She feared that they might drag her down, but that was kind of isolating. Not many people wanted to live the life that she was, where she would be up working at 2 a.m. and then back up at 6 a.m. replying to emails. But Lilly had high expectations. If people weren't doing that, then she didn't want them around, you know? But luckily, Lilly had become so popular online that she could reach out to celebrities, people that were similar to her, and she could expect a response. She was finding that people that she'd never even dreamed of rubbing shoulders with were actually quite excited to collaborate with her. And so, in 2014, Lilly collaborated with 64 people total, which is quite a lot. She worked with Rhett and Link, A$AP Sias, Jay Sean. She actually said Jay Sean was like the funniest person she'd ever met. I guess he would have been better as a comedian rather than a rapper, but like, I don't know if he would have been down for that. So, yeah. Who else did she collaborate with? James Franco and Seth Rogen. She kissed Seth Rogen for this Christmas sketch, and she was worried that she'd gotten high just off of his breath because he was so high. Lilly in 2014 also appeared in the YouTube Rewind, the iconic YouTube. I love the 2014 YouTube Rewind. It brings me to tears. Should I admit that? I'm not sure. But in that YouTube Rewind, she starred alongside Dan and Phil, PewDiePie, Grace Helbig, and even her original inspiration, or one of them, Jenna Marbles. That must have been a real full circle moment, right? But what else did she do? She also had a part in this Canadian Broadcasting Corporation annual show. I think it was called like Fast New Year's Eve. I think growing up, they watched that in their family home. And also, I must add that by the time 2014 came to a close, Lilly had been tweeted at by her idol, The Rock, 5 whole times. She'd even gotten his number. I mean, brilliant, right? But none of that is what made Lilly realize just how popular she was. Actually, when that sunk in for her was when she went on a trip to Mumbai to feature in the Fan Fest there. Because when she arrived to the city, Lilly received a call from one of Bollywood's biggest stars, and it just like knocked her socks off. She was like, "Are you talking to me?" She got a call from Shah Rukh Khan, and at first she thought she was being trolled, but he explained, was like, "My 12-year-old daughter is a huge fan of yours." So he invited Lilly to his house, his huge mansion, to meet his daughter. Lilly, of course, dropped everything and went there. I mean, she was so excited, and so was Shah Rukh Khan's 12-year-old daughter. Lilly thought that like some fans had snuck into the house or something, but actually that was just the sound of his daughter shrieking because she was about to meet Lilly Singh. So that was pretty surreal for her. But then also, before Lilly left, Shah pulled her aside and was like, "Girl, I love what you're doing." I don't think he said it like that. But what he did do was he said, "I love the dad character that you play in your videos." And so he gave her this monogrammed blazer of his that she could wear in costume as her dad in her videos, but she never touched it again. Like, it was like a treasure for her. She put it on a wall when she got home, probably. But still, when it really hit her was actually later on when Shah and Lilly, they reunited on stage at FanFest, and she was just shocked because she was standing up there with Bollywood royalty, and still the thousands of people out in the crowd were chanting her name. So it was in that very moment that Lilly truly recognized that she was being seen and appreciated for her talent and her determination and all these things that she was told to stuff down and ignore. And it wasn't just young girls online now that was celebrating her, it was even people that her parents and her grandparents would know. Like Shah Rukh Khan, she was like, "Are you kidding? You know who I am?" And soon after this event, Lilly's feats earned her exactly what she desired the most. She visited her paternal grandfather in India for the first time as an adult. And although he had once refused to celebrate her existence, when she returned as a successful woman, he celebrated her. Lilly recalled, "He was standing outside. I nervously got out of my car and walked up to him. He walked up to me, looked me right in the eyes, and raised his hand and decorated me with a flower garland, a gesture fit for people of importance. He then proceeded to walk me into his home and show me all the newspaper clippings he had saved with my name and face on them." She continued, "He said the words, 'I was wrong,' words I had never heard a man say to me before. He said that I had done what no one else could have done, and I had made the family name proud." At last, Lilly had been accepted for who she was in every facet of her life, and she was tasting that power that she'd craved so desperately growing up. I mean, her parents and her extended family supported her. If she demanded popcorn in her green room in a contract for an event, then she'd get popcorn in her green room. If she reached out to a celebrity, they'd probably reply. And every time she posted a video online, hundreds of thousands of people would watch it and tell her they loved her. Lilly had spent her entire life up until that point defined by her fight for validation. And now she'd achieved it. She'd gotten what she always wanted. But rather than feeling overjoyed, that kind of made Lilly feel sick and shaky. The problem was, I guess, that Lilly had never set herself an end goal. She'd never conceptualized what her identity would be or what her life would look like once she jumped that final hurdle. Now that Lilly had become somebody, nothing had really changed within her. All that she really knew was that she couldn't let herself become complacent. Lilly's parents had instilled in her that nothing worth having comes easily. And so Lilly constantly reminded herself that she had to earn her success. She had to stay focused, respectful, grateful, grounded, because otherwise everything might slip away. And even though Lilly was becoming more popular by the day, she couldn't help but feel like her time as a digital star, particularly as a female South Asian star, was limited. And she really wanted to be a big name star. She didn't want to go down. She wanted to go up. Missed an opportunity to say she didn't want to be a falling star, she wanted to be a star or something along those lines, you know. But either way, even in the aftermath of this realization that she had made it, Lilly just continued to do what she knew best. She pounced on every opportunity that came her way. She continued to sprint on this hamster wheel because she worried that if she took even one moment to smell the roses, to feel her emotions, celebrate her wins, or even, you know, eat sometimes, then her perfect life would fall apart. Then she'd lose everything and she'd be right back at square one. So Lilly headed into 2015 with a new, impossible goal in mind that she was going to achieve. This time, okay, so Lilly had spent the past year or two performing at countless events and releasing songs, dancing, all that jazz. Not like super seriously, but it was part of her job. And that had kind of reignited her passion for performing to live crowds. There was just such an energy that she got from being there in person and seeing the way that they responded to what she was doing in real time. Like, it just felt good. So Lilly approached her agent Sarah with the idea of going on a worldwide stadium tour. Why not? You know? And she had a plan, right? The story would be her journey through depression and to her unicorn island. That would kind of be the chronicle of events. Now, Sarah responded to Lilly with hesitation. She was like, that's monumental. Like, that's a really big undertaking. It's going to sap our finances. It's going to dominate your year, our year, you know, and it would risk public condemnation. If things didn't go well, then she would be making the news for all the wrong reasons. Failed YouTuber tour, I mean, you can just see it now, can't you? But, as we know, Lilly was not one to back down. She didn't really care. And even when she brought her idea to promoters and they declined to significantly invest, she didn't give up. She was like, I finance things myself all the time through YouTube. I'll work it out. So she did. Lilly chose to partner with YouTube to release a backstage documentary as part of their brand new subscription service. And I think that was how they ended up funding the project. I was kind of unclear on that. Either way, the documentary was going to go on YouTube Red and the show was confirmed. I don't know how. I am not a businesswoman. Anyway, Lilly hired a choreographer and she carefully cultivated a dance crew that she hoped could bring her vision to life. And what Lilly pictured was nothing short of extraordinary. She wanted to put on a show called A Trip to Unicorn Island, and it was going to be elaborately choreographed. She pictured this like bright and whimsical stage design, kind of along the lines of the essence of Willy Wonka, Katy Perry, Alice in Wonderland, and she wanted it to also be heavily infused with certain elements of the Punjabi culture. She was going to be doing some Bhangra dancing again. So Lilly excitedly wrote out concepts and drew up sketches. She involved herself in every single aspect of the production. But things got really strenuous for Lilly in May. That month, obviously alongside her dance team, Lilly began an intensive rehearsal process, but on top of preparing to be the star of her show, she still had to keep up with urgent emails and she had to attend endless meetings, and then of course she still had her 2 YouTube channels that she needed to post to. And there's only so much time in a day, so more than ever, sleep became a luxury for Lilly. I don't honestly know how she functioned. She genuinely, I think, survived off of like Rockstar energy drinks because I saw them all over her documentary. And even then, I mean, some days Lilly was so tired that she could barely stand. She'd even fall asleep on the hard floor of the dance studio because she was just knackered. And even her father, who she had like inherited a hard work ethic from, lamented that Lilly was working way too hard. Like, he was worried. He thought she was doing too much. But Lilly rebutted that you can't achieve your goals while you sleep. You can only dream them. Please don't listen. Please sleep. You must sleep, okay? No goal is worth your health unless, I don't know, maybe you're like curing cancer or something, in which case, why are you watching this? You've got a brilliant brain. I probably sound like a toddler to you. But that was just Lily's mindset. She was very, very determined. She was all about the grind, okay? All about the grind. But even so, it was undeniable that Lily's tendency to become obsessed with whatever she was doing wasn't benefiting her, not this time. In fact, it was ruining her. She was drowning in pressure. She was being eaten alive by the stress of it all. And even though she was surrounded by cast and crew members, Lilly felt more alone than ever. She just felt like nobody had the same experiences as she had. And The Rock kind of reinforced that. Thanks, The Rock. What a great mentor. He texted Lilly and he told her that nobody was going to take care of her. She had to take care of herself. As if she wasn't already doing that, right? And it kind of became like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sorry, I don't want to rag on The Rock. Like, he was just handing out some advice. He did nothing wrong, okay? I'm not cancelling Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But it got to the point that basically Lilly was like, if I don't get something done, it's just not happening. You know, a week before their first show, Lilly discovered that the animations and the costumes for the show hadn't been organised. I mean, that's half the show. So that was pretty stressful. And then on top of that, most of the cast and crew didn't even have visas. So how are they supposed to work overseas? So Lilly and her team barely pulled everything together, and then she hugged her parents goodbye and boarded a plane to India for their opening night. And that night, before they went up on stage, Lilly encouraged her dancers to soak up the positive message of the show. She told them to have a great time, regardless of whether their performance was perfect or not. That didn't matter. What mattered was being happy. But out of every cast member, it was really Lilly that needed to hear that the most, because she couldn't settle for anything less than perfection. And not just for like her own performance, but for everything, the entire show. And it felt like something always went wrong. Like at one venue, she realized that the stage was way too small. She was like, this is like performing in a broom closet. What are we gonna do? They had to like rejig all their formations to make it work. And then at another show, Lilly was appalled because I guess there was like I don't know what they were doing, but Lilly was up on stage doing a little comedy monologue segment, and there was a worker down on the floor right in front of her mopping a spot. I don't know, maybe he was bored and he wanted to catch some of the show. I've worked events, I can't see any reason that you'd have to mop right there during an event. So yeah, she wasn't pleased about that. She was like, couldn't you wait? So like sometimes the imperfections were pretty noticeable, sometimes they were minuscule. I mean, it would be like there was a colour that was off or something like that, but there was always something there, and Lilly always cared. More than she felt like anyone else did. Nobody else cared if her show was perfect. She did. And it was killing her. And Lily's team recognized that. They saw her struggle, and so they did try to support her. One night, a dancer injured their nose and she had to sit out the rest of the show, so the dance crew just quietly rearranged their formations without mentioning anything to Lilly, because they really did not want to put anything else on her plate. They were like, she's dealing with enough. But that didn't really help too much, because Lilly was blinded. She was just like stuck in her own unhappiness. She had locked herself into that place because of her expectations, so she was the only one that could shift that. But the problem was that she'd started this journey and she'd told herself, I'm going to put my all into this show and I'm going to enjoy it because I'm doing that, right? Because I'm putting everything into it. But she came to find that maybe she was feeding herself a lie that whole time, because it seemed now that Lilly was having the least fun out of everybody. She wanted to be having more fun, but she wasn't. She couldn't access it. And at the same time, Lilly was literally promoting the message that the only thing worth fighting for in life is happiness. She's even quoted as saying that to be happy, you really have to learn how to love yourself. But Lilly wasn't practicing what she was preaching. Even her unicorn island, that concept, that wasn't really a place for her to go to experience unbridled happiness. It was more of a coping mechanism that allowed her to shrug off her emotions and withdraw into this place of like toxic positivity almost. But during the tour, Lilly had sort of a moment of realization that maybe she wasn't actually as satisfied as she thought she was with the path that she'd chosen for her life. I mean, here she was pushing herself to the brink of exhaustion, juggling the show and promotional interviews that she didn't even really have to do because the show was sold out, but she wanted to do it anyway. And like, she was making content for her channels, she was trying to impress and satisfy her fans. And her life felt so empty, and she also felt like she wasn't being treated like she was a human a lot of the time. She mentioned in her documentary that she was heartbroken because she'd run into fans sometimes and they'd just demand a photo with her and walk away, and that was it. That was their whole interaction. See, I'd probably be more okay with that, because I'd be like, saving my social battery, thank you. But Lilly expressed that she wished that her fans would have a conversation with her. She wanted to be left with a fond memory of their interaction. And the straw that really broke the camel's back was this fan that somehow like rushed up onto the stage and snapped a selfie with Lilly before security could escort her off. Like, security moved like a little sloth. But Lilly was like, I've scheduled meet and greets for before and after every show. Like, why would you do that? Why don't you respect me, basically, is what she was feeling. She couldn't understand why her fans didn't see her as a person, at least some of them. Especially because, like, Lilly, truly, she enjoyed connecting with her viewers. If you look at, like, anecdotes from the fans that have met her, I mean, some of them say that meeting Lilly Singh was like meeting a long-lost friend. Others say that she acted like she was a fan of them instead of the other way around because she was so nice and interactive and warm. But Lilly would hug her viewers, she'd chat to them, she'd make sure they felt cherished and appreciated. And so it pained her that she wasn't always receiving that same energy back. She preached, like, kindness and inclusion and love, and then she was meeting fans and they were like, what's up girl, photo please, bye. So Lilly was feeling really depleted. She lived under the thumb of the phrase, people don't remember what you do, they remember how you make them feel. And she was trying to make everyone else feel good at the expense of her. On paper, Lilly's tour was remarkably successful. It did really well for a YouTuber tour. All of the 31 shows that they put on in Asia, Australia, the US, Canada, the UK, they sold out. But the way Lilly was living during the tour was not sustainable for her. It was the culprit of some serious inner turmoil, actually. But in the end, Lilly concluded that if a trip to Unicorn Island made its attendees feel better, you know, feel less alone, less insecure, less judged, less depressed, she didn't matter. It didn't matter if her feet ached, didn't matter if she was exhausted, didn't matter if she knew that something was amiss. What really mattered was that the crowds enjoyed it and that her fans walked away from the show feeling like they deserved to be happy. And I think this tour was the propellant for a little bit of growth when it came to Lilly's mindset, because she shared a slightly evolved definition of happiness at the premiere of her documentary a few months down the line. She said, happiness means that you understand that you're going to have bad days and you're going to have good days. Life is not perfect, but you're deciding that you're worth working on and you're worth loving yourself and you're worth being happy. Now, pretty cool, Lilly's trip to Unicorn Island documentary actually closed with The Rock saying some kind words about her, and I'm sure that was very meaningful to her. But, even cooler, Lilly actually met The Rock in person in 2015. Finally, it happened. Basically, she was trying to line up an in-person meeting for ages, and just like, their teams, I don't know, nothing was happening. And so finally, they were both at the MTV Movie Awards, and she just flicked him like a personal text, and she was like, hey, can I come see you in your green room? And he said, yeah. So that was pretty cool. Lilly gushed about the fact that he works so hard, but he's a nice person. After meeting him, she was like, this is what she said. She said, that is a very rare combination of someone who can be so rich and famous, but can be so caring to the people in his life. And that was, of course, a big inspiration to Lilly. Lilly really, really wanted to be like The Rock. She admired him a lot. But perhaps the biggest and most exciting progression in Lilly's life came at the end of 2015. See, that year she had spent quite a lot of time away from her family home. She wasn't home as much as she normally was, and that was pretty ideal actually, because she recalled that it was hard, really hard, to make videos there. She said, I never felt like the space was my own, and I couldn't film after 10 PM because my parents would go to sleep. So in November of that year, 27-year-old Lilly Singh became the first Singh of her family to leave her family home for a reason other than marriage, which was a pretty big deal. She kind of had to convince them that it would be an okay thing for her to do, but also her parents by that point had really accepted that she was married to a career. They didn't expect anything else of her. And so they did support her decision to move away for the sake of her work. But Lilly didn't just like move down the road, she didn't move around the corner. No, at last she had committed to the overwhelmingly scary decision to move all the way to LA. With all its hustle and bustle, LA was much more Lilly's speed. She's quoted as saying, when I used to live in Toronto, I would always be the busiest person out of all my friends. No one could relate to what I was doing. When I'm in LA, I constantly feel like I'm keeping up with people, and I love that. So she rented her very own lily pad there, is what she called it, and she shared it for at least some months of the year with her best friend, Humble the Poet. But even though Lilly had gone to LA seeking out a group of people that she really felt like she belonged in, again, she felt isolated because she was further away from her family than she had ever imagined being. And it didn't help that her whole life, her parents had genuinely done everything for her. She said that's just what South Asian parents or like Indian parents did. So even simple things like she had to pay her own bills and do her own laundry, she had to buy her own toilet paper, that was all a huge learning curve for Lilly because she just didn't do those things. She had to call her mum a lot for guidance when she first moved, and she really missed being at home. It was scary for her. But soon enough, as humans do, Lilly adapted, and in fact, she ended up becoming just as organised and capable in a domestic setting as her mum had always been. When Lilly's mum first came to visit her apartment in LA, she beamed with pride. Even though the space was pretty much barren, Lilly said she had like 2 yellow chairs and then a clock. Her mum was like, girl, you're doing everything right. And she said that because Lilly could afford to furnish her own place with anything she wanted. And that was pretty cool. But what was cooler was that Lilly could also afford to be a homeowner. So the next year, in 2016, she bought a $1.5 million condo. And later, in 2021, she'd upgrade to a $4.1 million house, which is very expensive. Oh my gosh, the mortgage would be my entire life's earnings. Lilly recognized that she was living a life that was filled with an abundance of choices that her parents could have never even dreamed of having. But she was determined to not be greedy. Rather, Lilly wanted to share her wealth and her status with the people that needed it more than she did. So Lilly launched the Girl Love Initiative, which grew from campaigning to end girl-on-girl hate and donating to the Malala Fund, to her partnering with We Charity to hire women in Kenya to make Rafiki bracelets. An article about this initiative reads that Singh has been immersed invested in this project, saying how the Rafiki bracelets represent not only being passionate about girl love, but doing something about it. It goes on to say that 14,000 women in Kenya have jobs handcrafting the Rafiki bracelet. These women use this income to get an education or to send their daughters to school and to afford necessities such as clothes and food. And it continues, when Singh visited Kenya and met some of the working women that made the bracelets, she was inspired by the impact that she had created. She spoke of how many people imagine that the problem is too big to fix, but when you come here and see the school and you see the mamas making these bracelets, then you know that the problem is actually not too big to fix if you just start to fix it. And Mawinda, Lilly's mum, really appreciated her daughter's philanthropic efforts. She came to feel like through raising Lilly, she had actually done some good in the world herself. And over the coming years, Lilly's digital platform continued to bring her success and prestige and unbelievable opportunities. And in turn, Lilly kept working hard and participating in philanthropic endeavors and using her name and her image to advocate for equality and positivity. Notably, in 2017, she released an autobiographical self-help book entitled How to Be a Boss. I don't really know how to say. I'm inclined to say boss. It's not boss, it's boss. How to be a boss. But anyway, in that book, she promoted the benefits of consistency and determination and kindness and stepping out of your comfort zone. It was basically a book about how to get your life in order. So, from the outside looking in, Lilly's life looked pretty perfect, honestly. She looked like she always had things together, she was composed, she was busy. But behind the scenes, Lilly's wheels were kind of starting to come off. I feel like you can only keep up that pace that she was going at for so long, and then also, you know, she'd have these moments of clarity just every now and again where she'd sort of catch a glimpse of where her shortcomings lay, and it just didn't feel good. So she distracted herself again, and it made stuff worse. Like, she recalled years later that she said, I remember vividly one day I'd just gone to the White House. I met with Mrs. Obama, did a video with her, came home, went on Facebook, and saw one of my cousins got engaged. I felt like crap. Like, oh my god, I am such a failure. What am I even doing with my life? And I mean, Lilly truly believed that she was made to walk an unconventional path in life. But still, Lilly's life felt unbalanced at times, like completely off kilter. The reality was that she'd sacrificed everything, her relationships, her downtime, her personal insight and growth to succeed in a fickle business. And it was becoming clear that when the whirlwind of success that she was in inevitably dropped her, she would be landing in a barren wasteland where the rest of her life was supposed to be. And that reality, by December of 2017, was really creeping up on Lilly. Her numbers on YouTube, which was her only metric of success as a content creator, were dropping. Her rigorous upload schedule wasn't really working for her anymore. It was becoming this formulaic, soul-sucking process that she kind of wasn't enjoying. And she couldn't really keep it in anymore. She was struggling. So Lilly uploaded a video to her vlog channel in December of 2017 that would act as, the first crack in this perfect facade that she'd be putting on. In that video, Lilly announced to her viewers that she was sad to see YouTube changing, and not in great ways. I mean, at that point, unjust demonetization was rife. People were getting demonetized for anything and everything, and the community was sort of taking a turn for the negative. I mean, Leave Is Here was at his peak. Jake Paul was making trouble in his neighborhood, and diss tracks, they were raking in millions of views. So Lilly kind of didn't feel as proud to call herself a YouTuber anymore, because she didn't feel like the title was synonymous with who she was. And on top of that, I mean, Lilly was really confused, because at the beginning of her journey, Lilly had just obsessed over analytics. She had perfected, mastered the art of creation for YouTube. She knew what would work and what wouldn't. But now the algorithm had changed so much that she was just at a loss as to why some of her videos performed well and others performed poorly, and she felt like there was no clarity being provided to YouTubers. Lilly really felt like the longevity of her business was being threatened and there was nothing that she could do about it. So she shared that honestly she was starting to find it difficult to justify putting as much time into YouTube as she was. Especially because these changes, they weren't just affecting her business, they were shaking her and her self-image to her core. Lilly felt irrelevant. She felt unfunny. She felt totally out of control, which was the last thing she wanted to feel. In previous years, Lilly had stuck this sticky note to her computer that said, "Focus on what deserves your attention." It helped her deal with negative comments. But since YouTube had become less of a pattern and more of a maze for Lilly to navigate, she'd stuck another sticky note on her computer, and this one read, "You are good enough," because she needed the reminder. Honestly, she didn't feel like it was true. She was working so hard and it was just starting to feel pointless. Lilly later recalled, she said, "I came home one day and I remember lying on my kitchen floor and just crying. I turned into such a machine. I was feeling that I was completely losing what it means to be human." In focusing on work as much as she had, Lilly felt like she had fallen behind in life in so many ways. Her career accolades aside, Lilly was nearly 30, she was unmarried without kids, and she'd realised something about herself since moving to LA that was making her even more deeply uncomfortable than those other things were. Lilly had realised through interacting with a variety of open people in LA that she was bisexual. And Lilly spent a decent chunk of time just sort of wrestling with the idea that she had to tell her parents about that. Lilly knew that to them, success meant marriage, it meant kids, and it meant a good reputation. And she already wasn't meeting the first two standards, so her coming out could completely shatter all of that, her parents' entire perception of what it meant to be a good and successful person. Lilly had so much fear and uncertainty surrounding this that she was kept up at night. She was just tied up in knots. She had no idea what to do because she knew that she needed to be true to herself, but it was such a daunting task that she just didn't want to do it. But in the end, she set herself a deadline. Lilly told herself that she had to come out to her friends and her family by the time that she was 30. And so, last minute, in September of 2018, Lilly wrote a letter, she dropped it in front of her parents, and she ran upstairs and cried out her nerves because she couldn't even speak. She was so afraid. And when they did talk about Lilly's announcement, she was hurt because her parents weren't immediately as accommodating and celebratory as she would have liked them to be. Later, she reconciled that humans don't operate from a place of instant understanding and accommodation and knowledge. She said, were they completely carefree? No, they're still Indian parents who care about what people think. So they reacted the best way they knew how, and that was enough for me to be who I am today. Coming out lifted a weight off of Lilly's shoulders, but she kind of felt that it was replaced with this weight of judgment on her chest just because of, her culture, the way she was raised, the internally held beliefs that she had. And, she could feel that maybe some people were treating her a bit differently, and it's a hard thing to do. I don't know myself, I haven't experienced it, but from the way that she explained things, it was a very tumultuous time in her life. So, just over a month later, Lilly released a video to her main channel entitled, "I'll see you soon." In that video, Lilly expressed that she loved YouTube, and of course she loved her fans, but she was holistically exhausted from 8 non-stop years of pumping out content. So Lilly told her viewers that she needed some time away from the platform. She had to find a balance between hustling and health, especially now that she admittedly hadn't been happy with the content that she was putting out. She felt like her creativity had been absolutely run dry. She was banging her head against the wall, trying to come up with good ideas for next week's videos. Like, it just wasn't conducive to a good life or a good channel. Lilly definitely had this fear that if she stopped fueling the YouTube machine, then it would abandon her. But, the reality was that it kind of already had abandoned her. YouTube was moving on without her. What once worked so well for her had certainly fallen out of favor. She was seeing it reflected in her numbers and her viewership. And as Lilly slid down the ranks, she looked backwards at other younger creators climbing the same mountain she once climbed. And she realized that they were simply feeding the algorithm in ways that she could not anymore. The direction the platform was heading didn't align with her. Lilly loved to make comedy sketches. She preached happiness, acceptance, inclusion, and love. And those things just kind of weren't thriving on the platform anymore. But that style of content, those values, they were the center of her career as a digital star. They were the entire message that she pushed. She didn't turn her back on those things just to appease the algorithm, so she was kind of stuck. That's how she felt. Anyway, so instead of continuing to truck along like nothing was wrong, she was going to take a pause to analyze her definition of success and think about what kind of legacy she wanted to leave. And also, at this point, Lilly kind of had something promising going on, I guess, that she wanted to put more of her focus into. In June of 2018, Lilly had announced to Instagram that she was proud to introduce her newest brain baby, her very own production company. She wrote, "For years, I've been telling stories on YouTube with my face front and center. I'm excited to not only continue being in front of the camera, but also behind it as a writer, director, producer, and or someone who greenlights a story that needs to be told. Storytelling is the priority, especially stories from underserved voices." And it made sense that Lilly had started her own production company, Unicorn Island Productions, because over her years in the spotlight, she, as much as she had championed the digital space, had always shown an interest in traditional media as well. Honestly, as far back as you can look, you can see Lilly talking about how she had ambitions to act in, movies, TV shows. And by this point, she'd already achieved that in a couple of cameo roles. She made her first appearance on the big screen in Dr. Cabby in 2014. She joked that being on that set was definitely a learning curve. She went out there and just started acting right away, and she was real confused when they were like, "Stop, you have to wait until we call action." She was like, "Oh, I normally do all that myself. Sorry, I'm a bit lost here." But she really enjoyed her experience. So she went on to pick up more work in the industry when it would allow her. She voiced 2 unicorns in Ice Age Collision Course. She appeared in Bad Moms, also in Disney's Bizaardvark, Fine Bros F the Prom. She was in HBO's Fahrenheit 451. She was in Maroon 5's Girls Like You music video. She was just popping up here and there. And funnily enough, she really didn't have big roles. So Lily's mum watched some of those movies and she was like, "Lilly, I thought you were in the movies." And Lily was like, "I was." But her mom didn't even see her because her parts were so small. But regardless, the size of her roles didn't matter to her. Lilly was just over the moon to be involved in any of these projects at all. So Lilly auditioned for a lot of different things, and typically she said that she was pretty good at being charismatic, remembering her lines, but still, roles just didn't seem to come easily to her. It kind of always gave her a whiplash because one day, she'd be shutting down Hollywood Boulevard, walking the red carpet for the premiere of her documentary, or she'd be performing for a crowd of screaming fans, and then cut to the next day and she'd be auditioning for some unimpressed executives that didn't know Lilly Singh from a bar of soap. So it was just a weird reality, a weird contrast. But that didn't really faze Lilly too much. She had to remain very stubbornly convinced that, no, the next audition will be the one that changes my life, And still, Lilly was insistent that no matter what happened, she would not step away from what she considered to be the future of entertainment, the digital space. So she didn't. She just took a month off. During that time, Lilly enlisted the help of a therapist, she spoke to her friends, she took plenty of time to meditate, and then she returned to YouTube. But now in 2019, Lilly made it clear to her viewers that she had outgrown this comfortable but rigid upload schedule that she'd been sticking to for yonks. Rather than continue to meet those expectations, Lilly set new ones for herself. She decided that in 2019, she'd be breaking her own rules. The first risk that she committed to taking was posting less to YouTube and kind of posting a slightly different style of content to YouTube as well. And the second nerve-wracking stride that she made was huge because Lilly announced to the world that she was bisexual. She had been keeping it to herself for a while, just out of fear, but Lilly later shared that doing that was causing her to drown in anxiety. And it sucked because she couldn't explore her sexuality for fear of people maybe seeing her, taking photos, outing her before she was ready. And yet she was so terrified to have to share something so vulnerable with the masses, it just felt like a rock in a hard place kind of situation. She had no idea what she was going to do until she had the opportunity to audition for the role of Ruby Roundhouse in Jumanji, who she referred to as the girl that makes out with the Rock. So Lilly was very excited about the potential of this role, and yet she completely bombed the audition. This is in her own words, right? She was just so distracted by these thoughts swirling around in her head that she literally could not complete what she was trying to do. She apologized and excused herself, went to go get water, came back, and she couldn't finish it. So she just left and she broke down in her car. And in her car that day, Lilly came to the conclusion that enough was enough. She had to stop torturing herself. It was just too much at this point. So she spoke to her team, and then in February of 2019, Lilly took to Twitter with a statement. It read, "Female, coloured, bisexual. Throughout my life, these have proven to be obstacles from time to time, but now I'm fully embracing them as my superpowers. No matter how many boxes you check, I encourage you to do the same." And Lilly was beyond nervous to make this post, especially because the people in her life had strongly advised her against making it. Her parents were concerned for her and for the reputation of their family. And that obviously hurt Lilly, but she did acknowledge that her parents had spent their lives in an environment that forced them to protect themselves and their safety, and coming out was not a safe thing to do. So she understood that of course they had their concerns, and she sort of tried to explain those concerns away to them, say that she was in a much more ideal place of privilege, that she could come forward with that news. But then on top of that, Lilly later said that she she had people saying that, you know, she did so much business in India, and if people in India found out, they would all fall apart. She'd lose that whole community. So that was really scary, but Lilly concluded, she said, me coming out was partially, if I'm honest, a big middle finger to this whole idea that we can't talk about it. And Lilly explained, you know, she said, I've talked about mental health and coming out and scary things because I want to go beyond fear and lead with love. She said, I hope more people lead with love because fear is the easy way out. And although Lilly had good intentions and there was literally nothing wrong with anything she said, her announcement did garner some vitriol. I mean, it's the internet. She was #1 trending on Twitter. It was gonna happen. But Lilly was actually pleasantly surprised to see that the general response online was pretty positive. As an example, Brown Girl magazine published some open letters to Lilly Singh, and they contained sentiments like this. One girl said, as someone who identifies as an Indian American lesbian, it is so inspiring to see such a well-known figure in the world and within the South Asian community send this message of acceptance and, possibly more importantly, self-acceptance into the world. Another said the subject of sexuality within the South Asian community is still quite sensitive and at times taboo. For those that are a little apprehensive about coming out themselves, I hope that Lilly's openness is a source of support and encouragement for others to live and embrace their own truths. And joyously, Lilly later shared that actually her fans in India were among some of the most supportive people after she came out. Lilly recalled that the very next meet and greet that I did after coming out was in India, and I would say that 50% of people in that line came out to me. To me, that is a success. See, Lilly had watched movies like Love, Simon in an attempt to sort of learn how to come out, if you will. But she found that because of the cultural variations between her and these people that she was seeing in media, these characters, she kind of couldn't take their messages on board so much. So Lilly was proud that through her media appearances and her platform in general, she could reach people who looked like her, who had similar experiences to her, and help them maybe understand themselves better. But the next risk that Lilly took in 2019 was a huge step forward in her career. It was a decision that would change the trajectory of her life forever. Let me paint the picture for you. In February of 2019, Lilly Singh's channel lay dormant. It was completely eerily silent. And then when she returned in March, she came back with an announcement that would blow everything that she and her viewers had once known out of the water. Because Lilly, just like she'd wished for back in 2011, was going to have her own talk show. And how this came about was that in February of 2018, so quite a while back, it was announced that Last Call with Carson Daly, which aired at 1:35 a.m. to an average of 726,000 viewers per night, would be coming to an end after 17 years. Carson Daly would be stepping away from his slot on NBC. Now, being such a late time slot, NBC could do one of two things. They could either cancel it, or they could see it as the perfect opportunity to experiment a little bit with new talent and new ideas in sort of like a creative playground of sorts. So John Irwin of NBC, who I can't remember his title, they always have the most funny, ridiculous titles, and I'm sure they make sense, but everyone I feel like that works for like a network or a media company, they've got like these long trailing titles. So I can't remember what John Irwin did, but he was involved in the scouting process, and he first set his eyes on Chrissy Teigen to fill this third and final slot in their late night talk show roster. But Chrissy Teigen passed on the opportunity, and so Lilly Singh became John's next best option. Kind of a random jump, I know, but basically John's daughter had put him onto Lilly's videos a couple of years ago, so he knew about her existence. And then coincidentally, in March of 2018, Lilly had become affiliated with NBC. She was cast in an NBC pilot for a show called Bright Futures alongside Emily Ratajkowski and Lisa Kudrow. To Lilly's disappointment, the network did not end up picking up the show, which was a shame because she really liked the premise, but what she didn't know was that NBC did not forget about her. They did not forget the name Lilly Singh. And actually, they kind of thought that she would be the perfect fit for the job that they were looking to hire for. I mean, for one, she was a woman of colour. She would provide NBC's late night roster with a level of diversity that it severely lacked otherwise. And although her younger built-in digital audience would probably be sound asleep well before her show would air at 1:35 a.m. They would undoubtedly tune in to watch clips on YouTube the next day because they'd already proven that they watch Lilly Singh on YouTube. And also, I mean, all things considered, John was like, Lilly's been doing the job, practically, of a late night talk show host for the past decade, but on her own platform. Like, she'd proven that she was capable of producing viral sketches and conducting serious interviews. She'd done a bit of everything. So, NBC reached out, but Lilly wasn't interested. She said no. And understandably so. I mean, Lilly was in the throes of burnout, and she asked NBC how much time and energy they'd expect of her, and it was a lot. So she was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pass. Especially because she actually had acting projects lined up, and that was where her priorities were. I mean, she grew up wanting to, act in Bollywood movies. She never wanted to be a late night host. But regardless, a month passed and NBC still hadn't found a better candidate, so they decided to give Lilly another call. And this time, Lilly considered the opportunity more seriously. She considered that, the universe had put this in her lap twice, so it probably was meant for her. So Lilly turned to her friends in the industry for advice, and overwhelmingly they encouraged her to give late night a shot. Follow her heart, Lilly recalled that something The Rock said was, don't let people convince you that there's a path that you have to follow to get to a certain place. If you want to do late night and then you also want to act and you also want to do music, then you will do that and you will create that path for yourself. So suddenly Lilly felt like it was possible to do everything. And on top of that, Lilly's team made the offer sound really, really enticing. They basically sat her down and they explained that late night shows actually have a lot of significance in America. They literally pitched the idea to her as being like, you will have a huge historical impact. And much like Debbie Ryan at Disney,
I went into the Disney Channel building and I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history.
Lilly Singh wanted to make history. Plus, she kind of thought like, man, if I pass on this chance to make a change, then they might hand the opportunity to someone that doesn't look like me, right? And then we might not have that opportunity as a community for a very long time again. So I gotta do it. Right? That's kind of the conclusion she came to. So Lilly made the fateful decision to enter into negotiations with NBC. Lilly basically told them, listen, I would be willing to put an intensive effort into this late night gig, but I don't want to miss out on keeping up with my other ventures as well. Like, I'm passionate about acting. I've got my YouTube channel. But NBC made it clear they were smitten with Lilly's talent. They very much saw the potential in her voice and what she'd bring to the network, and so they negotiated, and 9 months later they had an agreement. NBC hired Lilly under the promise that they'd retain only talk show exclusivity, and they scheduled it so that Lilly would be bank shooting her first season over the course of just 3 months, which meant that, of course, she'd have plenty of time to commit herself to acting and YouTube for the rest of the year. They only needed her for 3 months. So they closed the deal. Lilly was hired. Shortly after, in March of 2019, Lilly flew to New York. There, flooded with nerves, Lilly announced on NBC's Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon that she would be getting her own NBC late night show, and not in Jimmy's slot, she promised. So Jimmy and his audience gave Lilly a standing ovation, and he welcomed her to the late night family alongside Seth Meyers. And upon sharing her big news, Lilly began to receive an outpouring of support. She was getting tweets from the likes of Carson Daly and of course The Rock and Nick Jonas. Lilly said Miley Cyrus DM'd her and said that she wanted to be on her show, and then Miley told her that she'd reached out to NBC directly to ask if she could be on her show. Amy Schumer and Chelsea Handler referred writers to Lilly. Trevor Noah gave her some advice, and Lilly started texting back and forth with Jimmy Fallon and Kelly Clarkson. She was really being welcomed with open arms into this industry, and not just from her peers. The internet flooded with headlines about Lilly Singh being the first bisexual woman of colour to host a late night talk show, and fans and members of the general public were happy for her as well. One Twitter user shared the popular sentiment that one brown girl's success helps millions of others believe that they can live audaciously, dream big, and dominate where so few have ever tread. Thank you. This may be one small step for you, but one big leap for South Asian parents to see an alternative facet of success for girls. So Lilly was making history just like she hoped she would. She's quoted as saying that being a woman of colour in this position is very special and feels bigger than myself. She said, this is the first time in my life where I'm really doing something that feels like it's not just for me. My hope is that it's going to pave the path for people that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to do what they want to do, just like women have done for me to get me into this position. She also said, I applaud NBC for putting me here. It feels like a good movement is happening. And NBC returned Lilly's compliments. This is what I'm saying about the long titles. The Executive Vice President of Special Programs and Late Night, and that wasn't even the whole title, I cut it off. But anyway, he said, Lilly is truly a star, and we're thrilled to welcome her to our NBC family. She is a multi-talented performer who will surely have a great rapport with not only all of her guests, but also with our devoted late night audience. We can't wait to get started. NBC truly felt that Lilly's talents translated into every form of media. They had absolute faith in her ability to produce a good show for their network. And Lilly eagerly promised everybody that their support would not go to waste. She would be putting 200% of her energy into her show. And nobody who knew Lilly doubted that. I mean, she always put everything that she had into everything she did. But at this point in March, nothing had been organised at all for the show. Lilly actually said that A Little Late with Lilly Singh, her talk show, hadn't even been cleared until like just before she appeared on The Tonight Show, so it was all very fresh. And she had so much to learn. So immediately following her big announcement, Lilly just threw herself into the world of television production, along with learning everything that went into the behind the scenes of like a larger scale production. This wasn't YouTube, this was a much bigger world. Lilly also had to piece together her show from the ground up. She had actually quite a lot of say in what would happen on her show. And Lilly had the monumental task of meeting her own expectations as well, because she didn't just want to like meet a standard, she wanted to blow things out of the water. That's what she did. Lilly, she said that she saw herself as being a disruptor. She looked at systems and she looked at the status quo and she thought, how can this be changed? I'm sure this could be changed. So that's what she set out to do with Late Night. She didn't have total freedom, like she was still expected, for example, to do monologues like the other talk show hosts did, but as well as that, she thought that maybe she could do games and she can infuse her love of sketch comedy into the show. And then also she wanted to bring her own personality to the table. She wanted to showcase how proud she was to be from Scarborough. She wanted to wear sneakers, not high heels. And she wanted to touch on universal issues rather than American politics. She said she'd indirectly touch on like social issues and stuff like that. Lilly explained, I want to talk about women's issues, race and rights, but through sketch comedy, I've always felt that that was the best vehicle to talk about these issues because people are more receptive. She said, I'm a woman of colour, so I have to make social commentary, and it's more beneficial for me to do things my way that maybe have not been done before, rather than trying to do something that's already being done so well. And good old John Irwin, whatever he does at NBC, he reiterated that news about politics was, I mean, it was being regurgitated all over the place anyway. So instead of doing that, he described that our goal is to do half an hour of comedy. Lilly's stuff is going to be a little more personal, a little more based in her experiences. And there was like an underlying motive to take that route as well, because realistically it would have been immensely difficult, regardless of Lilly's desires or what NBC wanted her to do, for the show to cover topical news on a year-round basis when all of the episodes for the show would be shot over the span of 3 months. Like, it didn't make any sense, it wouldn't happen. So because of the constraints, by nature, the show had to take a bit of a refreshing take. It couldn't function otherwise. But also as part of the process of putting the show together, Lilly had to decide whether she wanted a desk or not and what she wanted it to look like. Of course, she had to like collaborate on a set design. And she also found that she had to like school NBC on how much time and funding that they needed to allot her for like hair and makeup and outfits and nails. Because I guess they were a bit surprised to hear that Lilly wouldn't be quite as low maintenance as like Jimmy and Seth were. She needed like manicures and lots of outfit fittings. And of course, on top of all of that, Lilly also had to build out a team. Importantly, she needed to hire writers that could produce scripts that gelled with the voice that she had already established for herself over the course of her career. It would be really gratingly obvious if Lilly Singh wasn't talking like Lilly Singh in her talk show because her writers just didn't get it or whatever. So that was a priority during the hiring process. But also, Lilly wanted to cobble together a crew of people that represented the world. And she did end up with that. She ended up with a diverse half-female team. And luckily it was mostly comprised of alumni of other late night shows, so these were experienced writers in the field, you know what I mean? And even behind the scenes, Lilly was bringing a completely different vibe and perspective to late night TV. In pitch meetings, Lilly offered her writers all like fluffy unicorn slippers. And she had this money gun that she filled with fake $100 notes and she'd like fire it off when she liked someone's contribution. Very energetic, very energetic. But basically Lilly stressed, she said that she wanted her writers to feel comfortable bringing their point of view to the room because that's why they were there. That's what they were there to do. And it worked. They did feel comfortable. There was this writer on her team named Sean, and he did an interview for some reason. I don't know why. But in that interview, he shared that Lilly was the most positive person he'd ever worked with. Sean said, normally on every job I've had, you go home and you feel kind of jaded about something in the day. He said, I have not felt that at A Little Late with Lilly Singh because of the positivity. And of course, he recognized that Lilly brought this unflinching work ethic to the table as well. Lilly said herself, of course, she was going to be far too obsessive to like show up, read the teleprompter, go home. Nah, she was going to be involved in everything from the content of the show to the social media strategy of the show. But Sean said Lilly is very involved in the writing process, which I don't know if I've ever truly experienced with talent. Like, she's actually typing, which is unheard of. He proclaimed, I think Lilly has a different scale of time than the rest of us. She is the hardest worker I've ever seen. He said, I've been staying up till 11 because of how many things we're shooting in advance, and she's there as late or later. And even when she'd get home, she was still working. Shawn said that she'd put together like 10-minute long voice memos at like 1 a.m. that covered her thoughts on upcoming topics so that writers had like a blueprint to follow when it came to writing her monologue. She was doing everything. She, like always, Lilly went above and beyond. But as usual, her impressive drive could be linked to her fears. I mean, she was scared to let go of control. She was scared of failing. Lilly expressed to her team that she was worried that maybe people wouldn't like what they were doing. And especially, I mean, Lilly had been told numerous times that billions of people were counting on her because she was a minority in the spotlight. So she felt like she had this pressure, and she said she tried not to view it as like a negative, more of a positive, but she wanted to make everyone feel represented. Except you can't really be relatable to that many people, so it felt like an insurmountable task. She was like, how am I going to accomplish this? And she was already so out of her depth in this new medium of mainstream television, like it was just such a big fish for her to fry. She just couldn't get her hands around that fish. But either way, in the lead up to her show's release in August of 2019, Lilly changed her whole identity. She publicly shed her Superwoman skin. Lilly rebranded herself online to be simply Lilly Singh. And it makes sense that she would do that as, you know, the host of A Little Late with Lilly Singh. It's not A Little Late with Superwoman. But she later explained that also DC had been gracious enough to not sue her after she rose to fame under their trademarked moniker. Instead, what they did was they made a deal with her. She agreed to pay them a large lump sum of money to be able to use their name for 5 years. By that time in 2019, the deal had expired and Lilly just chose to let it lie. And then after 6 or 7 months of hard work, in September of 2019, Lilly and her team began to shoot A Little Late with Lilly Singh. Throughout her first week, Lilly received an outpouring of support. Her influencer friends would take time out of their busy schedule to visit her on set. Her family were telling her that they were super impressed that she'd made her way onto a platform in like a concrete role that they really understood was a big deal and that they really felt represented by. And because of everything happening around her, Lilly had never felt more important. But along with that, of course, came this palpable level of tension and pressure. There was so much riding on Lilly Singh to make this talk show work, and her team were right in that with her. My understanding is that they shot the show at Siren Studios, which was like directly across the road from BuzzFeed. And there, Lilly performed for audiences that were partially comprised of paid members and partially comprised of people that just wanted to be there. So, I mean, the paid members liked her. I think they were fans of her, so I'm sure they wanted to be there as well, but they also had jobs to do. They were there to like fill out the crowd and encourage reactions like applause and laughter, and they'd even appear on stage during certain segments. But I think really Lilly just liked having them there because it was like reassuring for her. It was comforting to know that there were people there that were always going to be receptive of her jokes, and you know, she was not used to this medium, so it just helped to have a little bit of a foundation there. And then not long after shooting commenced on the 16th of September 2019, A Little Late with Lilly Singh premiered on NBC. They were quite smart actually, and they simultaneously live streamed it to YouTube. They had Lilly commenting in the chat. The launch went pretty well. The first episode to air kicked off with a rap that Lilly wrote herself in which she addressed the many elephants in the room. It began with the line, "Hello, my name is Lilly and I ain't a white man," and it went on to point out that her writer's room looked like a mini United Nations. Lilly rapped, "This is the new standard, so take notice, Hollywood." Then, during her opening monologue, Lilly quipped that, "I get it, I'm not your traditional talk show host." She said, "The media has mentioned that I am a bisexual woman of colour so much that I feel like I should just change my name to Bisexual Woman of Colour." From there, Lilly went on to interview and play games with Mindy Kaling? I'm inclined to say Mindy Kaling. And also Rainn Wilson. And a few other stars also made smaller appearances in the episode. And actually, it was fairly well received. I'll read you some of the reviewer notes that I saw. One appreciated that Lilly didn't, quote, beat the fact that she's the first woman of colour to host a late night show into the ground, or constantly regurgitate jokes about the lack of inclusivity in Hollywood. A lot of them did note that the interview segments fell a bit flat from what they felt. Like they said that Rainn's was based around a joke that kind of didn't really land, and then Mindy's was tainted because Lilly was like YouTube trained to make eye contact with the camera. So she was doing that instead of like actively engaging in dialogue with her guests. But still, they clarified that Lily's shtick felt like a breath of fresh air. One wrote that her presence alone is hopefully changing the way that we think of representation on TV. They said, "There is no doubt that Singh is a perfect fit for late night. She has the brashness, energy, and wit to command a show with ease." So the general consensus that I saw was, yeah, teething problems were to be expected by nature, and they were certainly in the first episode of A Little Late with Lilly Singh. I'm losing my voice. But anyway, these reviewers said that A Little Late with Lilly Singh would surely find its footing and settle into a groove over time. Meanwhile, casual viewers supported Lilly's late night debut to the point that it outperformed its predecessor, Last Call with Carson Daly, on the network and on YouTube. Mira Estrada was one of those watchers, and she wrote for Global News that when she tuned in, she felt like she was part of something bigger than a TV show launch. She said, "I knew it when I saw the diverse faces in Lilly's audience, and I felt it when I read the outpouring of love in the comments scrolling online." She continued, "Truth be told, in the first half-hour episode of A Little Late, I felt more seen than in all the years I have been watching late-night TV." And Mira concluded, "I cannot praise Lilly enough, or express how excited I am to see how her first, because I am confident there will be more, season unfolds." So, from the jump, things were looking promising for A Little Late with Lilly Singh. But by just the next month, in October, the reception of the show wasn't looking quite so good. On YouTube, I mean, the clips weren't going viral. In fact, viewers already seemed to be losing interest. Around the time of the show's premiere, its clips were getting easily over 100,000 views. Some were climbing to 1 million, over 1 million. But a month later, the team were lucky if the videos were pulling 75,000 views. Most were getting far less. And on top of that, the show itself on the network saw a 9% decline in viewership. It was pulling 86,000 viewers less on average per night than Carson Daly had been. Lilly had stepped into the late night space with the immediate and unremitting intention to shake it up, and that didn't sit right with a chunk of the audience. I mean, humans, we can be fairly averse to change as it is, but then on top of that, Lilly was fighting the preconceived notions that, you know, YouTubers are talentless hacks, women aren't funny, diverse hires are ruining media, all of those things. But the real problem was that even people that wanted to like Lilly's show, even people that were maybe the target demographic for it, were kind of finding themselves being disappointed. In an article on Medium entitled "An Indian American Reacts to Lilly Singh's Late Night Show," Nida Jan expressed that Lilly Singh was undeniably talented, but her show just wasn't where it needed to be yet. She wrote, "Her reoccurring gift basket segments regurgitates events exactly as media outlets portray them, while her wage gap workout sketch similarly paints all men as despicable miscreants who have nothing better to do than commit lurid, heinous, unspeakable crimes against womankind." She said, "Neither attitude is conducive to constructive conversations that acknowledge nuance and variability as inherent in everyday life situations." Nida continued, "Her delivery sometimes feels forced and condescending, characterized by an overpowering woke mentality. Lilly frequently focuses on white people and middle America." She said, "Racial humor can definitely be effective when done tastefully and with restraint, but instead of coming across as amusing, her redundancy runs the risk of alienating the very groups she's trying to educate. Her usual messages of positivity, inspiration, and inclusivity are muddled by content that reads as salty, smug, and divisive." She said, "I would love to see Lilly's late night show reflect the same wisdom that she espoused as Superwoman. White is not synonymous with racist. Minority groups sometimes end up perpetuating the same discrimination they encounter. African American and South Asian communities are still afflicted by colorism." And Nida went on to say that in her opening rap, Lilly intoned, "This show is for everyone. There's no us, them, or other." Yet, her material often seems centered around her identity as a bisexual woman of color. Lilly frequently comments that the show is about something bigger than her, but her show has yet to reflect that. Maybe we could leave the labels at home every once in a while. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to pause here to insert a segment that I realize now that I'm editing this I never found a place for in the video, but this seems like a good spot. So, Lilly's talk show being so centered around race, that was a big part of it, sort of brought to light this discussion that I saw around African Americans, considering that Lilly Singh had sort of appropriated some of their culture. Obviously, Lilly is of Indian descent, but in the past she referred to herself as being black. She'd use a lot of African American slang terms.
"Some people say I look like Sean Paul, some people say I look like Lil Wayne.
Young moolah, baby.
But I'm back, black, and ready to lay the facts."
And even her book, How to Be a Boss, there were some people that took issue with the fact that it kind of seemed like Lilly was promoting the idea that she invented this word boss, when in reality that was a pre-established term used within the African American vernacular. Later down the line, she released a song, and I mean, I'll just insert it for you, like a clip of it, so that you can see what I'm talking about. So there was a sort of hum around that happening, along with the other things that I'm about to mention. I just want to put that out there because I completely forgot to include it, but it is a part of this timeline and it is important to speak about it. Also, I'm just going to conclude it here by saying in recent years, I have not been able to find any further conversation about this. It seems to have ended maybe 5-6 years ago, meaning that I can't find another instance in which something like this has occurred. And I'm hopeful that that means that Lilly has learnt from her previous eras and corrected that into the future. But with that said, thank you for letting me interrupt. I will let you get back to the timeline now. Lilly and NBC had taken a risk to create this out-of-the-box show together, and as far as the general public were concerned, it wasn't a risk that was paying off. So it became a trend to proudly and vocally dislike A Little Late with Lilly Singh, and even Lilly Singh herself. The headlines about Lilly being the first bisexual woman of colour to host a late night show were quickly steamrolled by articles, forums, and YouTube videos revolving around the idea that Lilly's show and her career was tanking. And every misstep that Lilly made was taken under the gaze of hundreds of thousands of judgmental eyes. People were just waiting for Lilly to fail, and sometimes she did. In October, Lilly was accused of stealing a joke originally made by Mary Beth Barone. I'll insert it here.
I had a boyfriend once who was constantly on his phone, just swiping and swiping and swiping, and I was like, oh, interesting. So you do know how to use your fingers.
And I've been doing comedy for a few years now. I will say that it has definitely changed who I am, willing to have sex with. Because for years I was sleeping with hot dudes, and now I sleep with comedians. So it's just different. I definitely don't recommend sleeping with a comedian unless after sex you enjoy lying next to someone, watching them scroll through their own tweets. Because that's happened to me with more than one person. They're just like scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And I'm like, oh, your index finger does work.
Then, the first episode that they'd ever shot of A Little Late with Lilly Singh made it to air, and a comment that Lilly made during her interview with Jessica Alba in that episode came back to bite her. I'll insert what she said here.
They wear the towels, you know, the turby twist, so they look like super not cool in the turby twist, but it dries their hair really quickly. So, you know, it's a very practical thing. I think they definitely had the turby twist on when they
look like my Punjabi friends. It's
but they were like...
Lilly was met with backlash over what some considered to be an offensive comparison. She quickly issued an earnest apology, and she explained that in the moment, my thought process was, don't be embarrassed, I think that's dope. But in hindsight, I recognise that was a disrespectful and problematic joke to make that has a lot of painful history behind it, and I'm very sorry. Lilly expressed her gratitude to the people that took the time to inform her of her faux pas with love and patience. She thanked them for educating her on a perspective that she wasn't personally familiar with. And she shared, "This is all new to me. I'm still learning and growing. I know the line for comedy is subjective, so I can only do what feels right. In this case, taking full ownership and apologising feels right. No ands, ifs, or buts. I was wrong. I hope you continue to make space for me to make mistakes and improve from them." And she concluded, "Thank you, and here's to a life of growth and improvement." Still, in the aftermath of Lilly's apology, some internet users continued to argue that she was resistant to criticism and unwilling to hold herself accountable. They often mentioned that Lilly consistently referenced the hate that she received online. She'd mention it during her shows, in her YouTube videos, she'd post about it on social media. I just felt like she was constantly centering this idea that she was getting hate.
Not even about being sexist, I just hate it in general. Who was like, oh hey, let's give the most unfunny person ever a show. Yeah, great idea. Absolute garbage. Where were the jokes? All I heard was racism towards white people and white men. Racism needs to end, and this nonsense is why it never will.
For example, in one instance, Lilly wrote, "There are comments from people who deep down have no desire to see me succeed, and they write judgments or mean things about me simply to hate and see me fail." Soon, Amanda from Swell Entertainment caught wind of Lilly's plight, and she took the stride to actually attend a few of Lilly's shows. Then she shared in a video about her experience that she was confused by some aspects of A Little Late with Lilly Singh's production. Amanda recalled that they were told by a team member whose job it was to warm up the crowd that they needed to be as loud and excited as possible because if people couldn't hear the laughter at home, then they might not think the show was funny, and she thought that was an odd thing to say. And Amanda made note of the fact that A Little Late with Lilly Singh had no applause sign. Instead, the team gathered audience clips in advance. They'd ask them to look in certain directions and react as instructed. Again, Amanda felt that was strange, and she concluded that the show was overproduced, overscripted, and not enjoyable to watch. She also mentioned that NBC executives were there monitoring the show, and it was clear to her that they were having issues filling the seats. Then Amanda closed her video by talking directly to Lilly. She bemoaned to her camera, but to Lilly, you know what I mean, that she had seen no growth from her over the course of the months that she had attended her shootings. So Amanda thought that Lilly must be digging her heels in and putting blinders on. She argued that Lilly's reactions to criticism were not productive or healthy because she internalized it far too much. And she pleaded with Lilly to get it through her head that the show wasn't all about her. Amanda argued that Lilly's crew members relied on her for work, and if the show got cancelled because Lilly couldn't pull it together, then they'd be left with nothing. And she said they seemed like nice people, so that wouldn't be very fair. Then Amanda closed her video by saying that she wanted to see Lilly grow. In Amanda's eyes, Lilly had skipped some steps to get to where she was, but now she really had to earn it. So Amanda encouraged Lilly to focus less on what got her in the door and to spend more time exploring the room instead. To Amanda and to a lot of people online, it was obvious that Lilly had to evolve, but the general consensus was that she was either unwilling or unable to do so. But on the other hand, Lilly consistently expressed that she was open to feedback. She said that she knew that her show had plenty of room for growth. In one statement, she wrote, "I've been so grateful for the overwhelmingly positive feedback and for the constructive criticism, because that's how I get better." But then, why was nothing seeming to improve? Well, digital star Brittany Broski mentioned years later that she thought that Lilly was set up to fail. She explained that Lilly's writers were awful. She was expected to do too much, and she was shoehorned into the role of a straight male comic. Brittany's conclusion was that Lilly didn't fail. NBC did. And Lilly's personal truth, perhaps, would fall somewhere in between those two extremes. See, Lilly initially revelled in the headlines proclaiming that she was making history. It was exactly what she wanted to do, and she thought that knowing that she was making such a big impact would breeze her through the agreed upon long and arduous shooting days. But when the time came around, Lilly found herself succumbing to the ruthless schedule. Lilly was expected to run at full speed in a space that she didn't fully understand, and that was hard. And also, as someone who had built her career around her self-driven authenticity, Lilly came to realise that perhaps she wasn't the greatest fit for the highly regimented, constrained, and artificial world of television. As always, she was nervous to delegate tasks out of fear that they wouldn't be completed to her standard. But she simply could not do everything this time. Lilly was genuinely running out of hours in a day. It wasn't possible. A Day in Her Life posted to her vlog channel in November of 2019 followed an uncharacteristically cynical, anxious, and worn down Lilly as she began her day with a writers' meeting at 10 AM. Lilly expressed confusion over what was successful and what wasn't because she just wasn't sure if she was on the same wavelength as her writers and YouTube and NBC. But she didn't have much time to wrap her head around that because next she had a producers' meeting at 11 AM. That was followed by a Girl Love meeting at 11:30 and a secret meeting at 12. When that meeting wrapped up, Lilly skipped lunch and she reviewed a segment that her writers had put together instead. Then she took a self-described selfish 15-minute break for her mental health before she headed to a rehearsal at 1:15. While she was making her way on foot to the studio, she jammed down one singular donut for lunch. When she got to the studio, she rehearsed until 3 PM, and then before her first show commenced at 5 PM, she had to get ready. So Lilly had her hair and makeup done, she put on her outfit, and at the same time she reviewed YouTube clips, tweaked scripts, caught up with emails, approved content, and did a vocal warm-up. Then showtime rolled around, but they were running a little late, no pun intended, which was actually a big stressor because they were working with celebrity guests. Their production had to run in compliance with their tight schedules. They couldn't even run 5 minutes behind, but they were. And to make matters worse, Lilly's team informed her that they were having an issue with the teleprompter, so she had no idea what she was going to say when she was on stage. Regardless, Lilly put on a smile and went out there and did it. Then, immediately upon that show's completion, Lilly headed backstage to get new hair and makeup done and put a new outfit on for her second show of the day. That show started even later than the last one, and the teleprompter still wasn't working. Finally, Lilly wrapped up her time on stage and then she entered a meeting with her lawyers at 8:30 p.m. That was followed by another meeting at 9 p.m. and a final meeting at home. At last, Lilly went over jokes and monologues, and then at 11:45, Lilly closed her vlog, saying that she was going to take a shower, potentially watch a movie for leisure so that she had some balance, and then she was going to go to sleep and do it all again the next day. Lilly lived for challenges, but shooting A Little Late with Lilly Singh was hectic. It was a true holistic test of how much she could possibly take in one day. Lilly commented that she was expending more energy and interacting with more people and doing more things and receiving more feedback than she ever had before, so it was pretty draining. But it was also very, adrenalizing. I don't know if that's a word. Lilly was just, carried through every day by pure adrenaline. And her emotions were pretty heightened too. She didn't really have time, but she'd burst into tears in her green room and then she'd fend off people that needed things from her until she was done crying. It was all just so flat tack and there were so many people watching, and honestly it felt like Lilly just didn't have space to be a regular flawed human being. And on top of that, her belief that if she didn't do every single job then something would go wrong had been reinforced by her controversies. So she would stay late on set to quality check every single episode before it aired because she couldn't risk letting anything slip through the cracks again. Especially because every time an imperfection reared its head, Lilly felt like she personally was letting down people, and even whole communities of people. Still, it wasn't all bad, the show. I mean, Lilly expressed that she was grateful to even have the opportunity to complain about things that somebody else was probably praying for. And she said that the connection that she felt to her live audiences made her life feel lighter when she was on stage. She didn't feel so burdened by troubles and worries. But Lilly had taken a step back from YouTube to fulfill her desires of living a happier, more creatively free and balanced life. And here she was on the hamster wheel again, spreading herself way too thin. But Lilly wasn't the only one doing that this time. Her team members were under similar amounts of pressure. I mean, they were tasked with creating 96 episodes of a late night talk show in 3 months. And as it turns out, that choice wasn't only made because Lilly wanted to have the time to explore other ventures for the rest of the year. In actuality, consolidating a shoot is much cheaper than shooting all year round, and A Little Late with Lilly Singh had been assigned a relatively small budget by NBC. Those financial constraints meant that Lilly had a fairly small team that had to yield to an unrealistically demanding schedule. Her team were forced to push out a huge quantity at the expense of quality. Good enough became the standard for A Little Late with Lilly Singh, which was a shame because Lilly didn't align with that, and she insisted that her writers didn't either. She said that they were talented and funny people, but they just didn't have the time to meticulously craft monologues and sketches. Instead, they had to rush to hand off mediocre scripts that nobody was truly proud of. And Lilly found that having to follow NBC's guidelines for her late night talk show only made the results of it worse. She recalled that she was expected to hit her marks, just like Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers did, but sometimes she'd go off course and she'd riff. She thought that when she did that, it improved the quality of the show significantly, but that wasn't allowed to go to air. Lilly would have to repeat the segment until she got it right, whatever right meant. On top of that, Lilly received corporate feedback that she was too loud, that she needed to smile more, and that she was over-indexing on content about being a minority. Meanwhile, she was confused that NBC vocally wanted her to bring a new voice to late-night television, while also expecting her to present as a cookie-cutter repeat of the voices of late-night past. And Lilly griped as well that because NBC had cheaped out on her show, the sound system was bad. She had to yell to hear herself over the ambient noise. And also, they didn't have enough cameras to record the audience, which could make the show feel lackluster and disconnected because they had to film the audience in advance. In the end, Lilly said that it wasn't enough for NBC to claim to be inclusive or diverse. They also needed to actually provide her with the resources that she required to make her show worthy of being on air. And according to Lilly, they just didn't. Even when she requested something as simple as props for a sketch, she'd be told that they didn't have the bandwidth to procure them. And because they consolidated her shoot, episodes of Lilly talking about partying and traveling and making out to a live audience were airing during the pandemic. So Lilly was standing out not only because she had a unique voice, but because she was using it to talk about less than topical things. It was not good. I mean, she said that she loved some episodes of that show, but for the most part, she felt like all she had to show for all the hard work that she was putting in was a product that she knew wasn't as good as it could be. Lilly turned to other people in her industry for advice and constructive feedback, which she claims to have taken on board. But it still ate away at her that she was being heavily criticized by the public over a product that she didn't align with. She thought that most people probably couldn't understand why things were the way they were because they never made a talk show before. Of course, she couldn't really speak up about her perspective when she was still working directly with NBC. Lilly later admitted that at the time, she did pay too much attention to what the media had to say about A Little Late with Lilly Singh. And because she was putting so much of herself into her show, the criticism towards it could feel personal. It really hurt Lilly to see the communities that she belonged to and that she worked so hard to represent, you know, like YouTubers, South Asians, members of the LGBTQ+ community, turning their backs on her, especially when she felt like other members of the general public were turning on her because she belonged to those groups, like she had nowhere to go. And Lilly found it particularly disorienting that one moment she was being celebrated for being a bisexual South Asian woman, and the next she was being torn apart for referring to those qualities. In fact, Lilly argued that she didn't even intend to make being a bisexual woman of colour her brand. The headlines chose that for her. Lilly's reality was that being openly bisexual was such a new experience that she honestly didn't even really feel ready to talk about it, and yet it was being plastered all over the news. And so naturally, people were asking her about it before she even really had anything to say. And still, she noticed that her voice wasn't being elevated as much as the white male veteran talk show host that she shared the space with. To Lilly, it felt like nothing was changing. She wanted to disrupt the late night talk show space, and it just wasn't happening. I mean, Lilly griped that Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, they could mention their wives. Nobody would bat an eye. They never got told to stop talking so much about being straight. And yet when she brought up similar topics from her own lens, then she was catching flack for being redundant, tactless, unfunny. And I mean, perhaps Lilly could have benefited from incorporating a little bit of subtlety into her approach, but at the time, I mean, she didn't see that. Lilly really couldn't understand what people wanted from her. It got to the point that Lilly was so confused that she retreated to her green room after a taping once, and she just wrote out a list of how many times she'd mentioned everything, like being a woman, being South Asian, being queer, and then she said she sat there and her head was spinning and she was trying to figure out if she'd done these things like too much or too little, and there was no answer, really. That was the hardest part, was there was no too much or too little. There was just what there was. After a while, Lilly came to realise that she had to accept that she would inevitably disappoint people. So she relented in her search for a perfect balance. But she continued to struggle when it came to enthusiastically presenting herself as the face of a project that just wasn't being well executed. Regardless, Lilly still closed off the year of 2019 by expressing her gratitude to her fans. She recognised that their support had given her the life of her dreams, and she appreciated that they remained patient as she'd navigated it. And all things considered, Lilly had an incredible year in terms of her career in 2019. She was perfectly successful. She attended events, she spoke at conferences, she even scored a cameo on a Netflix movie. But she just wasn't sure what was happening with her show until mid-May of 2020, Lilly got the news that NBC had decided to pick up A Little Late with Lilly Singh for a second season. So, still in the midst of the pandemic, Lilly got to work organising a show with a very different feel than her last season. She ditched her desk and her studio, and she rented a home in LA that they could shoot out of. And along with this change of scenery came a change of perspective. Lilly decided that she would leave the formal clothing and the pressure of hitting her marks behind. She didn't care about that stuff anymore at all. Instead, she told her team that their hard work and their all-nighters meant nothing if they weren't having fun. So that was going to be their focus this time around. They just had to enjoy themselves. Aside from that, Lilly's intention with her second season was to put the spotlight on guests that maybe had a passion or a great initiative, but weren't enough of a celebrity to feature on a typical late night show. To make that happen, Lilly took on the role of being an executive producer. That gave her some leeway in who they'd invite to feature on the show. She got a bit of a say. And in general, Lilly said it's important to also be involved in the business side of things. As much as we talk about representation on screen, representation behind the screen is equally as important. And in making season 2, Lilly did achieve what she set out to do. She platformed lesser heard voices, she created fun sketches with her team, and generally she incorporated more authenticity into her content. And in response, a small community of fans gathered around to show their support. They thought that what Lilly had to say was humorous and valuable, and in their opinion, she had transformed into a fairly good late-night host. But from what I could see, the show's social media strategy was pretty appalling. Like, it actually really sucked somehow, considering the fact that a digital star was running it. I know she didn't do the social media, but like, you just think you'd put a little bit more focus on that? I don't know. It just didn't look, nothing looked enticing or great. And also, I think that the majority of people that knew that Lilly Singh had a show was so unimpressed by its first season that they were unwilling to give its second season a try. So as a result, some of the A Little Late with Lilly Singh clips on YouTube got less than even 10,000 views. Like, to this day, they have less than 10,000 views. And unfortunately, its viewership on the network also jumped off a cliff. It plummeted nearly 30% further than it had in the previous season. The show was down to an average of 574,000 viewers per episode, which was pretty far off where it should have been. And Lilly sort of racked her brain and she thought, perhaps the show's downfall is because I'm a minority. Or perhaps late night television is just too set in its ancient ways to truly accommodate someone like me. That's kind of what she was mulling over. But either way, A Little Late with Lilly Singh's second season ended in June of 2021 and the show never returned to air. Lilly explained later that when NBC pulled the plug, the decision was pretty much mutual. I mean, Lilly did want her show to succeed for the sake of the communities that it represented.
If things don't go well on this show, people are not gonna say, that's why Lilly shouldn't have gotten a show. No, you know they're gonna say, this is why brown women shouldn't get shows. I literally already see those tweets right now. And it's so unfair because I wish I could just say, if this show does poorly, it's because I and only I suck. Don't blame all brown women.
And we know that Lilly was never one to back down. I mean, she wasn't gonna step away and be like, sorry, I can't do this. But in reality, the obligation was killing her slowly. So when NBC made the decision to end the show for her, Lilly was pretty relieved. She expressed that all she could do in the aftermath was just hope that she'd open the door for someone else to walk in and do it better than she did. But even with that idea in mind, Lilly's ego did take a pretty substantial hit, understandably. I mean, she just kind of bombed in front of the entire world. Although maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I guess, Lilly was ruminating over the fact that she hadn't fully understood what she was getting herself into. When she was in talks with NBC about the show, she didn't know to ask about, budgets or what sort of resources she'd be allotted. And she also just kind of didn't think to stop to consider what the venture would mean for her quality of life. That wasn't in the equation. So, did she even want to do that? Really? And did that matter either way? I mean, Lilly couldn't help but think that if she just did a better job, then maybe she wouldn't have let so many people down. Maybe she wouldn't look so bad in the public eye. I mean, it felt like it was all on her. She thought that as the first bisexual woman of colour late night host, she had failed, and therefore she was a failure. Lilly later said that that's what representation is about. She said, I walk the path of other failures as well. But at the time, Lilly wasn't there yet. It was very difficult for her to accept what had happened. And on top of that, she felt so rejected and outcast. Again, she was the only one in the world with this experience. That's what it felt like. But throughout her life, Lilly had always seemed to fall short of finding a community that she really belonged to. The sense of loneliness that she was feeling was a familiar one. It was a void in Lilly's life that no opportunity had ever been able to fill for her. Everything that she'd done had only acted as a superficial patch that disguised the fact that her life inside was empty. And now Lilly's career had come to a screeching halt in the middle of the pandemic. So she was just forced to sit with this reality for once. She couldn't just throw herself into another project because there was nothing happening. And at first that was really, really hard. Lilly felt like a shell of a person without work to do. She felt purposeless and listless and lost. But eventually Lilly turned inward and she realized that her next project could be herself. So she did some soul searching and she found some clarity. Lilly came to realize that in some ways it was actually a pretty big blessing that her gig with NBC had fallen through. Looking back, those 2 years of her life felt wasted, so it would be a real shame if she invested more. The reality was that Lilly had put her true passions on hold to do something that she honestly didn't really want to do. But she didn't know that she didn't want to do it because she never thought to check in with herself to make sure that what she was doing was okay. It just sounded good on paper. And it sounded so good to her because Lilly based her entire worth as a person on her accolades. She would jump into opportunities headfirst to prove herself to the world, but she left herself feeling unfulfilled. So during this downtime in the pandemic, Lilly had the epiphany that she considered success to be an objective metric. To her, success was either being relentlessly ambitious and constantly pushing the envelope, or it was settling down and having a family. That's what she'd been taught. But she realized that the reality was that she could create her own definition of success. And running on the hamster wheel wasn't it. So from that moment on, Lilly promised herself that she would only participate in projects that made her feel happy and proud. And she would make sure to recognize her dream of being an actress. And also, she would step out of the social media bubble and take the time to engage with her own thoughts and ideas. She would allow herself to enjoy her life and just feel good about herself as a person. And to her, that would be success. Along with these changes of Lilly's internal measure of success, her concept of her unicorn island also began to evolve. She started viewing her unicorn island as less of a saccharine place to escape to and more of an internal safe haven that she could visit to feel grounded. And under that premise, Lilly wrote her second book, entitled Be a Triangle: How I Went from Being Lost to Getting My Life into Shape. Be a Triangle delved into Lilly's struggles with her identity, success, and self-doubt. In the book, she encouraged readers to, quote, create a place, a system of beliefs, a simple set of priorities to come back to should life lead us astray. And about her writings, Lilly said, if I, at 60 years old, still fully understand and believe that I'm a complete human being and everything that I've done is just extra cool stuff, that's success. My goal is to never have to write another book. My hope is that this book can be the blueprint for that safe place in my life forever. And for once in her life, Lilly practiced what she preached. She would consistently take the time to meditate and attend therapy. She learned to show herself and others a level of compassion that she didn't have access to before. She lowered her expectations. By 2022, Lilly felt like she finally had life all figured out. She considered herself at that point to be in the most evolved state that she'd ever been. And although Lilly's name stopped making headlines quite as much as it used to, she didn't really have any serious trouble finding work when the pandemic subsided. As an overview, Lilly did a TED Talk, which she found terrifying, but she had life all figured out, so she might as well. She also acted as a judge on Canada's Got Talent. She hosted Battle of the Generations. And she picked up some acting roles. She got a reoccurring role on Hulu's Dollface. She guest starred in Deli Boys, and she voiced characters in Hit Pig and The Bad Guys. And most notably, Lilly scored her first lead acting role in The Muppets Mayhem on Disney+. Recently, in 2025, Lilly hosted the red carpet for Netflix at the SAG Awards, during which she apparently had a very awkward interaction with Jane Fonda. Oh no. I don't know anything about that though, that's just what I saw. Also in 2025 though, Lilly returned to YouTube with a podcast-style series called Shameless with Lilly Singh. Those videos feature honest and bold conversations with South Asian celebrities that revolve around taboo topics. Lilly has received a lot of praise actually for sort of finding her style of interview with this series. Also recently, Lilly has invested in the Toronto Tempo basketball team as well as the Angel City Football Club. She's become quite passionate actually about supporting female athletes and encouraging young girls to join teams of their own. And nowadays, Lilly stays busy as the official chief hype officer for the Toronto Tempo team. But along with all of those things, Lilly has also continued to work within her production company. She still has the intention of platforming stories that probably wouldn't be told otherwise. Lilly explained, I've been told a lot in my life, we love your story, but we're not sure how many people relate to it. I always say, do you know how many Indian people are in the world? A lot. She said, I've been told that an experience like a character who immigrated from India wouldn't be relatable, when obviously it would be to millions of people. And about the lack of South Asian representation in mainstream Western media that mindset kind of feeds, Lilly has commented that there is no way to single-handedly make 2 billion people feel seen and heard because we're all different. For example, she said, people will give Mindy Kaling flack and be like, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, but she is not the problem. The system is the problem, because if there were 100 shows featuring people that look like us, you wouldn't be giving her that flack. And of course, the world of traditional media production moves pretty slowly, but over the course of many years and countless meetings and endless hurdles, Unicorn Island Productions finally released its first film in 2024. It was an independently financed candid comedy called Doin' It. The storyline followed a 30-something-year-old virgin named Maya, played by Lilly, who stumbled into the role of a sex education teacher. Despite the risque subject matter, Lilly's parents were fully supportive of both the concept and of her choice to take on the lead role. Actually, when Lilly broached the idea to her mum, she was touched because her mum simply asked her if she was okay with it. And when Lilly said of course she was, her mum asserted that then it was fine, she thought. And Mawanda, Lilly's mum, even went on to work on the set of the movie. She was the credited cultural consultant. And to Lilly's surprise, her mum would crack her own sex jokes along the way on set. Still, making the movie wasn't all fun and games, it still worked. During the process, Lilly discovered that she hated working as a producer, but she had to do it anyway, so that sucked. And even though she owns the production company, she still had to jump through hoops and abide by rules and regulations. She mentioned that executives would expect a certain page count for the script, and jokes had to be workshopped and cleared, music had to go through clearance, and the release process was a whole nother ballgame. Apparently that's quite complicated. But Lilly just powered through, and she took every tool and lesson that she learnt from that process, and she got straight to work on her second feature film, which I don't know if this is the one that she's doing, but Lilly has said that she wants to do a project, quote, based on my real life aunties because I'm kind of obsessed with them. She said they call themselves the Fun Gang. It's kind of like a girls trip with 4 Indian aunties. That's the next movie I want to make. I probably will have to produce it because that's the exact type of movie that a studio exec is going to be like, absolutely not. And that's generally my taste. And then along with everything else that she does, Lilly is also the face of the Unicorn Island Fund. Notably, they run a fundraising campaign every year on Lilly's birthday, and she matches the donations from that up to $35,000. Then they divvy out the money to community-based organizations in India that help young girls to acquire life skills and speaking skills and confidence building skills and, you know, get formal education and so on. But although Lilly has remained booked and busy over the years, she's also come to understand the importance of balance. Nowadays, Lilly takes breaks. I know, round of applause everyone. She allows herself to have guilt-free downtime. Imagine that. She's announced that sometimes she watches movies solely for leisure rather than for like inspiration, where she has to actively watch and note things down. She's also taken to playing guitar. Great pastime. She cooks, she bakes, she makes ice cream, she listens to music, and she's even started journaling. Lilly has found that writing things down really allows her to like press on the brakes and sort of like reflect on her life in a meaningful way. So now she begins every single day with a journal prompt about the things that she's grateful for. And she'll even acknowledge the small things. I mean, she'll write down stuff like, just, I feel refreshed after a good night's sleep, or, you know, I am enjoying a moment of peace and quiet. And Lilly will also some mornings write about what she's proud of herself for, what she's excited for. Sometimes she'll work on positive affirmations. Really good stuff. But in some ways, unfortunately, Lily's willingness to slow down in life has been too little too late. In a very recent vlog, actually, Lilly announced that she had been dealing with chronic pain since her stint on late night television. She'd feel stiff, her body would ache all over, sometimes she'd feel a lump in her throat. She chalked that up to being anxiety. But then at the beginning of 2026, things just started getting worse and worse. Lilly shared that she was suffering from increasingly intense mood swings. She had like debilitating fatigue and brain fog and hair loss. After years of tests and inquiries, she finally got an answer as to what was going on. In the end, Lilly was diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. One was Hashimoto's thyroidosis. That was the real culprit of the lump in her throat. And then the other was spondyloarthritis, and that was what was causing her body to hurt constantly. Lilly spoke about how she eased some of her symptoms by mostly eliminating gluten and dairy and sugar from her diet. Also, she manages her health with medications and a monthly injection that lowers her immune system, which of course leaves her more susceptible to sickness, so now she has to be very careful about, you know, touching people. She uses hand sanitizer all the time. Basically, her life revolves around her conditions. She takes a lot of preventative measures, and yet she still experiences flare-ups, and that leaves her feeling really frustrated. She mentioned that things that used to come easily to her can feel like mountainous tasks when her health is playing up, and it just sucks. Like, she says public speaking is difficult because she gets lightheaded and foggy, and, you know, the thought of messing up in front of a crowd is obviously stressful. And then it can be hard for her to like really invest herself and her energy into a project when she feels so fatigued sometimes, and she's so like lacking in concentration. And then sometimes even when she's experiencing elating moments that should be like elevating her emotions, she can feel completely dejected. Like, her moods can be so unstable and so inappropriate. And Lilly was told that her autoimmune diseases could be related to stress and trauma, and so she wondered if possibly the way that she'd like barged through life had contributed to her getting these diagnoses. Because in the past she had been told that the chronic stress that she was under had spiked her cortisol to like scarily high levels, like really, really high. But considering the timing, what Lilly thinks is that it was probably actually her stint on late night TV that set in so much like irreversible damage to her body. And that's really gutting. Like, she looks back and she's like, man, I just took so many beatings and I didn't speak up for myself, and so many things happened that I can't even speak about now. And, you know, I think it does haunt her a little bit, but the clock can't be turned back. She is the person that she is today, for better or worse, and Lilly recognizes now that the best thing she can do for herself is just to manufacture a life that doesn't cause her undue stress. So Lilly doesn't run around all the time anymore. She's still very busy, but she makes a concentrated effort to do things that feel good to her. When she's at home, she spends time with her 2 dogs, Scarborough and Soka, and frequently she calls or meets up with her parents, who she says have also evolved for the better over the years. It's very heartwarming, actually. Lily's mum accompanies her on trips to India a lot of the time on behalf of her charity, the Unicorn Island Fund, and she just like wholeheartedly supports her daughter and her daughter's autonomy in ways that her own family did not. So I think she feels very fulfilled because of that. And Lily's dad, he's taken steps to become more expressive with his emotions and more willing to, you know, hand out affection, which is something that he didn't learn from his family growing up, but he now sees the importance of. And Lilly, she said that she was impressed that one day he called her literally just to tell her that he was proud of her. Like, that meant a lot to her. And Lilly, she often thanks her parents for supporting her in what she did in life, but her dad pushes back and he says that she succeeded purely on her own accord and her hard work. In the end, Lily's parents are glad that she kept her head on straight regardless of how popular she became. They are very, very proud parents. And Lilly has actually come a long way even since 2022 because she has accepted that she never has been and never will be a completely evolved person. She will never have her life all figured out because that's impossible to do, really. But what Lilly does have is a very strong sense of identity, and that acts as the root now that she grows from and matures from. Like, Lilly knows that she isn't her work, she isn't what she's done, but she is her willingness to work and to do. Lilly sees herself as a human being, just a normal, flawed human being, but she sees herself as a good one that believes that she has the ability to do anything that she sets her mind to, including uplifting and inspiring young girls. But to do that, Lilly doesn't have to think of herself as being a celebrity or a YouTuber or an actress or an author or any number of things. Instead, she can simply see herself as a storyteller. One article that I came across described that Singh hopes to inspire others to harness storytelling's democratizing power. She emphasizes that stories are a potent and universally accessible resource, often more powerful than money or expertise when it comes to supporting causes. It continues, Singh asserts that the culture we live in is fundamentally a narrative that we've been told, and by courageously sharing our own stories, we have the power to reshape that narrative and drive meaningful change. And the article quotes Lilly as saying that every single person has a story. Every single person has a reason that they have that chip on their shoulder. Tell your story. Your story is really, really powerful. And I must say that I agree. I make videos like these ones because I agree that sharing stories and, you know, really taking the time to understand another person's experience is a truly meaningful thing to do. And my closing thoughts here when it comes to Lily's story is that I guess it's kind of like a cautionary tale. I think it shows how these little things in life, right? Too much pressure, a lack of insight into yourself, having your expectations set too high, can slowly cause a person, even an outwardly successful person, to self-destruct. Some things just are not maintainable. But with that said, I also think that Lily's story is a beautiful demonstration of what it looks like to honestly lead with kindness and generosity and resilience. And not because Lilly has never struggled or because she's never gotten something wrong or because she's a perfect person, but actually because she has gotten things wrong and because she's not perfect. But throughout her life, she's been willing to adjust her perspective, stand up, brush herself off, and try again. I don't know, some might say that Lilly Singh is an acquired taste, and I think that's fair. You know, some people might find her to be annoying or cringy or a bit dated or whatever number of things. I mean, everyone can be judged for something, can't they? But I also think that it would be hard to argue that Lilly Singh's intentions throughout her life haven't been overwhelmingly good. I really think they have been. And so I guess what I feel is that, well, I hope that when you see somebody like Lilly Singh, that you recognize that it's not a crime to be, you know, true to yourself or to try new things or to be a flawed person. Despite what some might say, it's actually a really lovely thing to be unapologetically yourself, to be willing to try things, to be the flawed person that you are and accept that. I feel like there's no point in neglecting yourself of those joys in life, right? When you're the only person that has to live with yourself anyway. Everyone else can take it or leave it. So let them and be yourself. Throughout my research, I did come to feel that people sort of led with judgment when it came to Lilly Singh when they maybe didn't have to so much. I mean, I can fully understand the perspective that Lilly Singh maybe came off as a bit like grating, a bit preachy, especially during her years on TV. I do get that. I just think that the dog pile was a bit much, maybe. Of course, like, some people were perfectly well-intentioned. Maybe they were misinformed, misguided, whatever else, but they genuinely wanted to provide feedback that they thought would help Lilly improve. That's fine, I guess, right? But then some others, at least from my perspective, would have just, like, joined in for the hell of it, right? Just because they could, just because it was fun. And at that point, I think, like, why not just live and let live? Go have fun doing something else. I mean, like, I know that it can feel rewarding to be a bit snarky. When you snark, you belong, you find yourself belonging in this nice little group. It's a negative group, but like, it still feels nice to belong in a group. So it feels like a pretty good thing to be doing. But in reality, our brains are actually wired to release happy hormones when we're being kind and when we're being like considerate and altruistic, because that literally helped our species survive. Like, we have advanced this much as a species thanks to our ability to cooperate socially. Not that I'm a scientist or anything. I mean, this is just my understanding, but I feel like we know from like years and years and years of history that humans are the strongest and the happiest when they're together. And I think it's a real shame that we let the internet and like late night talk shows drive us apart in the ways that we do. Like, we're better together, so let's come together. Let's support each other. I guess if you take anything away from this video, I hope it's that from Lilly, you have learnt the importance of treating yourself with kindness, but I also hope that you approach life treating other people the way that you would want them to treat you. You know, put yourself in their shoes, give them the grace that you hope that they'd give you. And remember as well that your brain is flexible. I mean, I'm not saying this because like we're all mean people. This helps to remember in general. The more you practice being kind, the more you experience a certain emotion, the more natural it becomes to be that way or to feel that way. And so the more you practice being a kind and gracious person, the more happy and healthy you become. This is like a win-win-win-win-win. There's no lose. And that's all I have to say about Lilly Singh and the human race, I guess. That's it. And thank God that's it. I've never filmed a video for so long. I was going to do this in parts, and I should have, because I've been filming for 4.5 hours. What am I gonna do? Oh, what a mess. Who wants to sit here and listen to me yap for 4.5 hours? Okay, well, I'm gonna, listen, normally I do like an awkward little intro, and I'm like, bye, no, you hang up first. I'm just gonna go. This has been way too long. Bye. Thanks for being here. Take care. Bye.